Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Flight 11 with LabPadre. Happy to be here with y'all today. Um, don't mind me if I'm still getting set up here in the background, but while I do that, I am happy to be here with Lab. Lab, thanks for hosting the show today.
Hey man, how you doing? It's good to see your face again.
I am doing all right. It's been quite a busy day, but I'm really excited for this. It's like clear weather this time around. I'm feeling like we're not going to have the same situation that we had last time with scrub after scrub. Fingers crossed. um,
Fingers crossed, man.
yeah, definitely excited. We also have Pierre joining us from Starbase FR. Pierre, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, we lost. I think I lost you for a moment, Zach. But yeah, I'm here. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us. And we also have Caden joining us again as well. Caden, how's it going?
Pretty good. Howdy, howdy, everyone. Glad to be here. Glad to send off Starship V2 today.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
There's
sir.
quite a few lasts, I guess. Usually we're talking about firsts, but today there's going to be some lasts. We have the final launch of a V2 ship and booster, and also the final launch from Pad 1 or Pad A, whatever you guys want to call it. So exciting times all around. A little bittersweet, I guess. We've kind of been expecting this for a while now, that for this to be the final launch on the for Pad 1, and I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm hoping they send it off in style. I mean, maybe it won't be all that stylish. I think, if it was up to me, I would do it without activating the water deluge, like I said on flight 10.
Blow it all out.
Yeah, exactly. Make it easier to, do the demolition work. Just get some of it started early. But I don't think SpaceX is willing to take those kind of risks. So.
Yeah, man, I'm really anxious to see this thing go off today, and unfortunately, we will not be seeing that catch, which is that's the really big thing that everybody wants to see out here.
Yeah, exactly. And don't mind me. I'm actually sending out a little tweet. Didn't have a chance to do this before the show, so I'm going to send out something really quick just to let everybody know we're live.
And just to refresh everybody's memory, we are broadcasting live from the Rocket Ranch outpost out here at Starbase. Want to thank the Rocket Ranch for community for allowing us to be here and broadcasting and using their property. If any of y'all ever come down to visit, make sure y'all come and hang out at the Rocket Ranch with us. We got the best seat in the house.
No kidding. Talking about lasts, Zach kind of mentioned this for a moment, but we'll also be sending off Starbase Pad 1 today. Not Pad A. I call it Pad 1. I'm sorry. That's the real name. But
yeah, that's the OG name.
that thing's been around for a while. That thing's seen a lot of stuff, and today we'll be giving it a Viking funeral, so to speak.
Well, it's not really going away per se, is it? I mean, we're still going to be using it for Block 3, but just some changes being made.
Yeah, the pad area should still be around. I guess I should have clarified there, but yeah, we'll probably see the new launch mount design for V3, which is currently being built over at the other pad at Starbase, and that's where we expect the next flight to launch from. And while they're conducting those initial tests of V3, we'll probably see the conversion of Pad 1 into the new design. So, but for now, this flight is sending off V2 ship and booster and the old launch mount design. So, as Zach was saying, a lot of lasts today.
Alrighty, and we have some great views as well today. As y'all can see, some things have changed. Seems like with every launch, we're able to see less and less from this view. We now have a huge bunker that they've placed right in the middle of where the D2 entrance used to be. So that's fine, but we can still see the full vehicle and the base of the launch mount, so that's great. And we also have these awesome views from the Sapphire condominiums, so that is just looking beautiful today.
Yeah, the Sapphire always brings out some of the best views, ultra wide views, and especially when those catches happen. I cannot wait to see that ship being caught here in the near future.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm really looking forward to with the last of the V2 ships and boosters, that we'll finally get back to recovering vehicles. It's really cool being able to see them do the different experiments that they've been doing with the booster and also with the ship. But it really is one of the things that people look forward to most, actually being able to see the booster and eventually the ship return back to the launch site. But these little experiments that they've been doing in the meantime are really important towards making sure that those future recoveries will be as successful as possible. So we'll cover a lot of the things that they'll be doing today as we go on. And it looks like they have at least started the pre-chill process for the tank farm. So we are just under an hour and a half away from Team 0. So this will be definitely an exciting day. And I think we'll wait a little bit before we go over some of those experiments that they're going to be doing today. Just give people a little bit more time to join in with us.
One thing we've got going for us for sure is the weather. According to SpaceX's last update, they're sitting at 80% go. And looking at these views, it looks pretty clear down there in Starbase. So, knock on wood, that will not be a concern today.
Yeah, so far we have a really great view. Above us, we have all blue skies. In the far distance offshore, we have got a little bit of cloud coverage. I think it should break away, though, here in the next couple of hours. I think we're going to have a great view.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as well to see. Maybe we'll get a better view of the booster splashdown, if we can call it splashdown. Last time it was pretty impressive already. So hopefully the visibility is better, and we get a nice explosion to celebrate the anniversary of the
Explosions are always good. Offshore, at least.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Offshore, yeah,
not on the pad.
Preferably over the water.
Yeah. It's going to be a pretty emotional experience for you, Zach, especially after spending God knows how many hours preparing all those deep dives about the stage 0. How do you feel about this launch?
Did it lose it on? Okay, sorry about that. I'm definitely, really excited for this. And like you said, it's been years of covering everything that's been happening with the first launch mount and, version 1 and 2 boosters and ships. So always exciting to move on to the next chapter, I guess. But yeah, for the longest time, I definitely referred to the orbital launch mount as an engineering masterpiece. But now what we've seen with the new pad 2, it looks really amazing, and it kind of just makes me all that more excited to move on to the next generation of both vehicle and stage 0. So I think what we're seeing today is going to be vastly different from what we see next time. There's just so many changes that they've made to this new launch mount. So I'm, for one, am extremely excited for that. And we do have some stuff that we can show along the way today. I didn't have as much time to get everything prepared in advance, but we'll be able to show different things as we go today. So that's we'll be fine with that.
Yeah, and for me, I just kind of this flight makes me reminisce on everything that this pad's been through. You know, this thing, even from the start, if y'all remember the Booster 7 campaign when we had the anomaly during I believe it was a spin prime test, that was the first of a, a series of things that occurred at this launch mount. And then of course you had Flight 1 basically doing its own demolition job. Then after that, of course, we had, you know, supporting the first few test flights of V1, first booster catch. Now we're all the way here, years later, and ready to move on to the next chapter, but saying a heartfelt goodbye to this one.
I got a question for you, Zach.
Yeah.
How many more blocks do you think we're going to see?
Vehicle or the pad?
The vehicle. Shit.
It's difficult to answer. I mean, we know for sure that there'll be a version 4 of both booster and ship. They will both get taller with that new version. Then we also have multiple different variants that we're waiting on. So as of yesterday, they did finally roll out the first of the version 3 ship nose cones, which I'll probably be able to show here in a second. Let me still getting some stuff together back here, but I'll be able to show that. But yeah, we got the tanker variant, the orbital depot, HLS, I'm guessing the cargo variant, and then you're probably gonna have a variant that's just used for Starlinks. And I'm assuming there'll probably be a different variant for launching other types of payloads. So yeah, there's quite a few different versions that we're going to be seeing here. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to like make multi-purpose versions, specifically when it comes to payloads. So something that can do both Starlinks or integrate with other types of payloads for different customers. So yeah, it'll be a lot of interesting things on the horizon. And let me actually see if I can just pull up the footage from this morning, actually, with the Ship 39 nose cone rollout, which we were waiting forever for. So let me...
As we're waiting for Zach here to pull that up, I have another question for you all in the stream pertaining to the Block 3. What do you all think about the Block 3 being caught, the first ship being caught as a Block 3? Will the first catch happen with Block 3? We're going to put a poll up for you all. Y'all let us know what y'all think.
Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and share my screen over here. Alrighty, so I think we have this up on the screen right now. So this is from this morning, actually. This is the nose cone from Ship 39 as it was being rolled out of the Star Factory. So this was actually sitting in the factory for quite some time, so we could all just, you know, see it. And that's one of the cool things about the factory having these glass windows in front. You can see things moving around inside of there. So we knew this was going to be coming out within the next, within the day or so. They actually rolled at the ship 39.1 test article was in the front right corner of the mega bay, the ship bay actually, and they rolled that back to the Star Factory, which was kind of the first indication that we were going to be seeing stacking of the first version 3 ship soon. And then they also had the 2-point lifting mechanism ready to go as of yesterday evening. So we were ready for this thing to roll out. And let me see if I can move this play bar down here. And yeah, this was the big reveal of the version 3 nose cone. And I'll have to pause it on certain features here because Mauser was super excited when this thing rolled out. It's kind of like all over the place with the camera, but so many things to see on this. For one, we have the new catching hardware, which let me just stop it right there. Actually, let's try and get a good side view of that. So yeah, this is the new catch hardware on the side. So this is both for lifting and catching, similar to the booster. The booster actually, the catch hardware has been moved, so there's no longer an actual catch pin on the side of the booster. It's actually attached to the grid fins now. So the ship has a catch pin down here. You can see that surface down here at the bottom, this little kind of rounded surface that will end up resting on the landing rails of the chopsticks. So next to that, you can also see, if I just back up a little bit right here, it looks like they have moved the position of the Starlink antennas. So this is very interesting, putting it on the basically on the windward side of the ship. The previous positions, I believe, were more on the leeward side. So this is actually very interesting because it now has to be integrated with the actual heat shield over it. So
Is it related to the catch operation, the way it's placed next to the pin?
I'm not sure. So they actually have, I think they want full coverage because it looks like they still have 2 on the front. So it's like I can't tell if they're evenly spaced, but I'm assuming there's 4 of them in total. So there's 2 right here in the front, which are a little bit more difficult to see. And then there's that one right here on the, there may actually even be one right here. It's difficult to tell. Let's see if I can, when it moves forward a little bit, if we'll see a different view of it. But while we're down here, actually, you can actually see the docking hardware right here. So this is basically part of the mechanism for ship-to-ship docking, which is going to be very interesting. It actually doesn't stick out quite as far as I expected it would. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is clearly what appears to be the female side of that mechanism. So it's going to be interesting to see what that mechanism looks like on the other vehicle, or maybe there's something that penetrates out through there on both vehicles in order to join together. So that's going to be very interesting. And sorry, the camera's like all over the place, but you only get a certain amount of time to view these things before it makes it over to the Mega Bay. But yeah, so I think I'm only seeing 2. I think there's another one right here, like I originally thought there was. No, so there's one right here and 2 on the front, and then I'm assuming there's one on the other side as well too. So very interesting. And there also, you can see down here, I think it's going to zoom in here in a second, or maybe I'll have to back it up. There are some RCS roll thrusters on the side right here. These little white dots you can see on the side right there, right here. So these are some actual roll thrusters, which we did not have.
Finally.
Yeah, right. Like that's one thing we've been waiting for quite a while to see, some actual roll thrusters. There's also some interesting details on the front side of it. So I'm going to scroll back a little bit. So obviously you have the access hatch down here, and then there's 2 little penetrations right here, which are interesting. I'm wondering if those are more thrusters or if they're possibly related to actual like connection points for the QDs, but I don't think that they're going to be transferring up there. I'm pretty sure that it'll be down through the actual QDs, but that's one thing we'll have to wait to see. But you can also see through the actual payload door, you can see all of the COPVs inside of there. So they're actually covered in a orange like shell. So when they had the incident with Ship 36, with the COPVs exploding, or I think it was one COPV that was damaged, had some pre-existing damage, and then it resulted in that explosion. So one of the things that they did to actually prevent that from happening in the future was, I guess, doubling the number of COPVs. So basically, by increasing the number of COPVs, they're able to reduce the pressure in each container. And also with that, they added this protective covering on the outside, which is primarily for handling of the COPVs before installation. So yeah, lots of work to basically prevent that same situation from happening again. So nice to be able to see on the inside of there. The Pez loader is already there. The Pez dispenser is already in the Mega Bay at this point before this moved in there. So they I don't know if they've already done it right now because I haven't looked on the cameras yet today, but I imagine the door to the Mega Bay might be closed, so we probably won't actually see them do that stacking operation. But either way, really awesome to see this roll out, and there's just so many little details on here that are different from the previous versions. This is another cool shot right here. You can see the beveled edge of the tiles right here that creates the smooth transition, I guess, between the stainless steel and the actual tiles. It's kind of funny when you look at it in the light, because it has like a funny little hairline up at the top. The lighting doesn't really help for this, but there were some really good pictures that folks posted on X. Oh, there we go. You can see it better when it enters the light right there. It's got a funny little hairline right there. Fresh cut. But yeah, that's really exciting. And I think we'll probably start to see the individual tank sections roll out rather soon, because with this, they'll basically mount it on top of, basically lift it up over the actual Pez dispenser loader, or the Pez dispenser. And then once that's fully mounted inside of the payload section, they'll immediately be able to start stacking the methane tank. So that's very exciting. And it's been a while since we've seen a fully tiled section roll out. So this is another exciting thing. I'm actually going to back up a little bit, see if we can see how far down. Yeah, so there you can see how far down those tiles go already, which is nice. I think they were having some issues before with the last like 4 or 5 ships with actual tile manufacturing. So it seemed like a good amount of the tiles were installed ahead of time, but especially with on the locks and methane tank of the vehicle, the lower in the aft section, there was so many missing tiles when they were stacking those that like it seemed like they went backwards as far as like the amount of pre-assembly work that they were doing on the tiles. And sorry, it's really hard to like scroll through this to show different features. And before we continue, if you guys do have some questions, make sure to feel free to type them in the chat. I think it's exclamation questions, right?
I believe so. I think it was just question singular.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just questions. So questions, and then type your question after that. So if you guys have any questions, we'll answer those for you along the way. In the meantime, I'm going. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just noting. I like how from this angle it looks like the ship has a little face. It's got the 2 Starlink antennas and then the Starlink door.
Yeah, and the mounting, the hardware for the ship-to-ship docking is very interesting, because we have seen these on the aft section, like one of the test aft sections that they created. So we have seen these before, and so we do know that there's probably at least 4 of these in total. So two on the nose cone or the payload section, and then 2 more below the QD. So it'll be interesting when we see the aft section roll out. But I guess the question at this point is whether or not we will be able to see that aft section when it rolls out, because one thing that you guys can see going on here in the what used to be the ring yard, they are now assembling tower cranes. So they're basically preparing for the next phase of Gigabay construction, which is the part that blocks us from seeing pretty much everything from here on out. They do have one of the first column in the corner over here, which we can't really see. But yeah, 4 tower cranes that they're setting up right now. And I imagine, based on what we've seen in Florida at the Roberts Road facility, they will probably get to assembling that Gigabay extremely fast. And if it's anything like what we've seen in Florida, it's going to be within the next few weeks. I imagine that view might start to get blocked off for us. So luckily we did get to at least see some of these components roll out before then, specifically the aft section of the booster. That was a big one that a lot of us were really hoping to see before we kind of lose those views. We may go through some of that stuff a bit later as well too.
Yeah, those views are going away really quick. Very unfortunate.
And yeah, just going back to the live cam views, I do have some sounds coming in from the pad, so it looks like definitely hear some venting. We're just over 1 hour from launch right now, so we should start to get a little bit into the propellant loading process here soon. And let's see, I do see one question in the chat from Crane Man. Will the Pez dispenser add strength to the payload bay to prevent it from collapsing at the door? Because in later stacking process, the steel strips over the payload opening are gone. I'm not sure. I mean, I think there is a structural component of the actual payload, the Pez dispenser. So there is some structural component to that. But as far as like when it's during the stacking process, they have struts that go over the opening of the door that kind of give it strength. And then I think they remove those before flight. So yeah, I don't fully understand the question.
I believe he might be referring to the fact that on flights 1 and 2, they had like steel strips covering the ship payload bay doors because they had some sort of structural concern. And as far as I'm aware, whatever those concerns were, they've been solved since around flight 3 or 4. So I'd imagine maybe things change a little bit with V3, but I don't expect there to be any issues in that category.
It's a little bit off topic, but one thing that's going to be interesting to check, to keep an eye on today, will be the deployment of the Starlink dummies to see how they perform compared to the previous flights.
Yeah, we did see a fully successful deployment on the last flight of all the Starlink sims, and that was exciting. We did see a couple kind of bang the door on the way out, so it'd be interesting to see if maybe they've done anything to address that. But
yeah,
I just hope maybe they finally put a camera on one of the dummy links and just didn't tell us, and it'll be a surprise during the live stream.
that would be nice.
But I'm delusional like that, so don't worry.
I'm curious to what y'all think about that bicycle chain setup on that thing. That's kind of archaic looking.
Bicycle chain?
On the start on the payload deployment.
If it works, it works. I mean,
honestly, I have not seen that.
Yeah, when it was deploying, you could see the little chain going, look like a 10-speed chain going around.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. That so it basically grabs onto that and then it sends it forward. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like some of the like winter in Denver, in Colorado. There's a park called Fraser Mountain Park. I forget what it's actually called, but they have these like tubes that you can slide down the mountain on, and then they used to have these little hooks that you grab onto the little chain, and it takes you up to the top of the mountain. Kind of reminds me of that. And really quick, I do gotta apologize to Mauser because he corrected me in the chat and was not the one guiding the camera. Yeah, the motions of the camera looked like Mauser to me, but I guess that was too early in the morning. I'm surprised he actually slept at all. Oh wow, some cool views of the helicopter that just passed by a few minutes ago on Rover 1, but I think we missed that. Jesus, that thing was super low.
I do see a question coming in from Shesh in chat saying, do we think Ship 38 survives re-entry today with the missing tiles?
Definitely. I think the thing's going to splash down with no problem.
It is interesting because at first it looked like 38 had a mostly completed heat shield, and then we heard they're wanting to do a few more experiments.
I think the main difference this time is that they actually removed some ties in group of 4. So some of the areas without the ties will be actually larger compared to the previous flights. So I'm guessing they're trying to push the limits of the second stage a little bit more compared to last time. And they still do this comparison between the left side and the right side of the second stage. I think they did the same during the previous flight. So they just removed. We can see it on screen now. All the ties were removed only on the left side of the image on the screen now, and so I'm guessing that's to help them collect data and compare between the right sides with the full shields, the full heat shields, and the left side with the missing ties. But you can see the patterns there with the.
Yeah, if we put this up on the screen, it's not showing currently.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah, so this is a post from Starship Gazer actually. So this is a pretty cool shot that shows pretty much all of the tiles that are missing. So you can see there is one way up on the tip of the nose cone, then there's a few below that, some on the tiles, and then I think this is still considered the payload section right here. It seems like they're mostly in the middle and on the left side. I don't see any on the right side here.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
What I was trying to explain. I'm sorry, I thought the image was on screen already. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, so it's weird. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on why they're only on one side and not on both sides?
I believe we did see a similar configuration with Ship 37. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah, it is interesting that they've been all on one side. SpaceX have mentioned in some of their updates that they're wanting, with this flight specifically, to test missing tiles in backup ablative layer underneath those tiles. So stress testing maybe some of the areas that might be a little more susceptible to re-entry heating. Kind of scary, but the ship has survived some pretty interesting situations before, so we'll see how that goes. But it is interesting that it's all on one side.
Do you think when they say they will not be using the secondary layer, shield layer, do you think they're talking about the Pyron, like this black layer, or about the KO wall, the white layer? Because on the picture you can see the spots with the missing ties are actually black, so I'm guessing it's covered with this Pyron thing, right?
It could be. Yeah, that's what I would think, is that it's missing that wool.
Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but it could be something like that.
Well, it could be something they give. Maybe they will give us a little bit more information during the live stream. Hopefully.
Yeah, one of the things we do know though is that they don't have any of the metallic tiles on here as far as we know, so we probably won't see the entire ship turning orange after reentry. I do imagine there'll probably still be white streaks all over it from that ablative layers. So we'll probably see that all along up the middle of the ship, and probably coming from all of these areas as well too.
Actually, one of the changes is that the nose cone section now has the KO layer in between, like the gaps between the ties are actually filled up now with this KO.
The crunch wrap.
Yeah, crunch wrap. Thanks. This was not present during the previous flight on ship 37.
Yeah, and one of the things that we will see as well during this launch. So they're going to be, I forget what they called the maneuver.
I think it was dynamic banking maneuver was the exact wordage. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So basically, they'll be banking in flight as they're re-entering, and so one of the reasons they will have to do that is because of the path that they're returning on. So the integration tower is not going to be like perfectly in line with the ship as it's returning. So they'll actually have to basically dynamically turn in the air in order to line that up. And I think, now that I think about it, they may have to actually do a complete 180 in order to line that up. Now that I think about it,
that's going to be quite.
Actually, no. It won't be quite a 180.
Okay.
So just to jump in here real quick, we are just under 1 minute now before T-0, and the tower is now venting. So we're getting really close.
Yeah, we should be coming up on the start of ship propellant loading here in just a few minutes, if they are still targeting
go back
a
to full screen on this too.
As we were talking about ship tiles, I did notice on the opposite side of the flaps, there are some other little deals that look like like heat shield tiles.
Oh yeah, good
what
point.
They are, or what are those?
They added 24 heat ties. Well, I guess those are heat ties. It's not the first time that they actually put some heat ties on the backside of the aft flaps, and I counted 24 ties per aft flap. So that's a total of 48 ties that they added on the backside of the flaps. I don't know.
Yeah, I can probably zoom in on those here so we can see them.
I did zoom in just now. It's kind of hard to see. The sun is kind of gleaming on the flaps. You might be able to see just a little bit. Let me see if I can peer in a little bit closer.
Resuming rover 2, Lab? I didn't see that. You might be muted there, Lab.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm zoomed in pretty close onto rover 2, but they're not being able to be seen. The chopsticks are kind of in the way, and the sun is gleaming on one of the flaps.
I don't know if you can put up on screen the pictures of the rollout of ship 38, but you could see on some of the pictures from posted by SpaceX, you could see those experimental ties that you were talking about, Lab. Anyway, I'm not an expert, but the only thing I could think of was maybe they're trying to test a new type of attachment, The interesting thing is that it's the first time that we see them placing heat tiles with a lot of space in between them. I don't know if you know what I mean. Before, they were placed in patches of 8 to 10 tiles, and this time it's just individual heat tiles.
Yeah, we've seen them do this on previous flights several times now, and we've never really gotten a definitive answer as to what the purpose of it is.
Okay.
But this flight is pretty interesting because, yeah, they're, like you said, they're in that little pattern sort of, and they're individually placed. They're not together in a cluster like they have been in the past. So my guess has always been that it is something related to the attachment of the tiles
Mhm.
and seeing how they respond to the vibrational loads of different parts of flight. But until we get some sort of confirmation from SpaceX, that's just speculation. It's very interesting, though.
We're going to have a good view with those 2 cameras during the flight.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I'm super curious about it. I mean, I think before, like you guys said, they did mention that they were testing new attachment points or new attachment methods. So interesting. I do wonder why they would do it on this side. I guess it will be easier to determine whether or not they fall off because they have cameras that are able to see those. Versus on the other side, it would be a little bit more difficult because they don't necessarily have cameras on the opposite side. Obviously, they will more than likely attempt to recover the ship. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't believe that that's possible, but I would love to be proven wrong if they're actually able to recover the ship after it lands. I feel like it would require some pretty significant structural upgrades in order to allow the ship to actually not explode after it tips over. But yeah, interesting pattern that they have going on there with those tiles. I think at minimum it makes the ship look kind of cool. Alrighty, and it looks like we are go for prop load right now as well too. So seems a little bit early. The launch mount is venting currently though, and so is the integration tower. So I think that actually started a few minutes ago, and I missed that. And I do see another question in the chat. What is the deciding factor in their decision to bring back the booster and catch it or not? That's a good question. I think that the reason that they're not is because they don't want to have to scrap the booster. So, well, actually, that's not the only reason. I think that is part of it. So if they return it, then that's just another vehicle that they have to scrap, and it takes forever to scrap these vehicles, especially with the aft section. There's just so many components in that aft section. It took them several months to scrap Booster 13's aft section. Obviously, they had other important things going on at Massey's where they were doing that, but I think, like I said, part of it is just not wanting to have to go through that process. If they can kind of ditch it in the ocean, then that's a little bit better as far as that goes. Beyond that, I think they're also attempting different experiments that they would rather do over water instead of above the launch site. So on this test in particular, they're going to be no longer doing as far as we know, I don't think they mentioned anything about trying the different angles of attack with the booster. I assume they probably still will be doing that, but that's not a primary experiment this time. One thing that they will be doing is adjusting the engine sequence. So basically they go from 13 engines down to 3 for the final landing burn, but this time they'll be doing things a little bit differently. So actually I can probably show this on the screen over here. So they call this the divert phase, which is basically so normally when they come in for landing, they'll be coming back down towards the launch site. And that if something goes wrong and they decide to divert away from the launch site, that would be the divert phase. So when they go from 13 engines down to, instead of 3, this time they'll be going to 5. So difficult to know which engines they're going to be going with. But for sure, I'm imagining we'll probably see the center 3, and then there'll be 2 engines from the Ring of 10. Also, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they. Well, yeah, I would assume all 3 from the center will be going. I guess the point of this is to make sure that. So if you lose one of these center engines during the landing burn, it would be difficult to start another engine up to make up for that. So instead of having to start another engine, they'll just already have 5 engines active at that time. And so then, if they lose one, then they won't have to worry about starting another engine because they already have 4 other engines active at that time. So if I had to guess, I would probably say that for one, you want to make sure you have the same control authority with 5 as you do with 3. So it's difficult to guess where those other 2 engines are going to be. If I had to guess, I would say 13 and 5. So you probably have all these other engines moved out the way, but then you have basically a little, I wouldn't call it a star pattern, but to me, this makes the most sense. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 13. So I would be interesting to see in the chat, I guess, if you guys want to name which of the other 2 engines you think. So you don't have to say 1, 2, and 3, but just pick 2 engines from the Ring of 10 that you think might be used in this maneuver. But I'm going to put my money on 5 and 13. I'm not a betting person, but I wish we could do a poly market on this.
Yeah.
Do not bet on any of the outer 20.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on this one.
I know that the space engineer posted something on X, and I think he's putting his bet on E11 and E7, if I remember correctly.
That was my initial thought, was 7 and 11 or 8 and 10, but I think that's just too many engines on this side of the vehicle, on the bottom side. So I don't know. I feel like you wouldn't have the greatest control authority if you did that.
Somebody said 6 and 9. All right.
6 and 9. That doesn't seem. That'd be interesting. Let's see, 8 and 13. So 8 and 13 on opposite sides. Possible. I would imagine you want some symmetry, maybe, but I don't know if that's necessary or not. Let's see. I see 12 and 6. That's an interesting one as well, too. Yeah, I could see that. 4 and 9. I actually like that one. 4 and 9.
Yeah.
I'll go with any setup other than the 13 in there.
Somebody said 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So none of the inner 3. That would look very cool, but I'm not expecting them to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, given that we know that they'll more than likely use these 3 for the final landing burn, I don't think that we should expect them not to use them at any phase. Yeah, I imagine for sure we'll see these. cool. Yeah, we'll see if people keep track of what your guesses were, and we'll see if anybody guessed it correctly when we get there. Alrighty. So yeah, that's going to be, in my opinion, a very, very interesting thing to see. I was actually kind of hoping that they would do like a real divert where they're actually diverting away from the pad instead of doing it basically during the boost back. Like I feel like that doing it during the landing burn is actually a little bit more interesting than handling that during the boost back phase.
Yeah, kind of testing out one of your abort modes there. That would look really cool.
Because it's going to happen eventually one day, just like we saw a couple of Falcon 9 boosters ending up crashing. It's going to happen eventually with Superheavy. So it's pretty interesting to see them already testing things, plan B, plan C, in case they have a malfunction. And we've gone a really long way when we think of the first test flight, and we were counting the number of engines shutting down during ascent, and now we're betting on what engine they're gonna cut off intentionally or restart intentionally. So it's pretty cool to see how much has been achieved in only 2 years, 3 years. Really, really exciting.
I did see somebody in chat. Oh,
go
ahead, Zach.
No, I was just gonna. It was not that important. I was gonna mention that people are Jeff cracking an adult beverage in the chat, and I am jealous.
I was going to mention the Space Peacock mentions that it's probably in the minority, but is kind of sad to see V2 go. Wish we'd have gotten to see it attempt a ship catch. And I can resonate with that. You know, when we first started the V2 era back at the beginning of this year, we were kind of expecting a few things that we didn't really see because of what happens on flights 7, 8, and 9. But we're here now. We're on the cusp of V3, which is a pretty significant upgrade. So it'll be sad to see V2 go, but we got big things on the horizon.
Yeah, and I do see Starbase Sim in the chat. I just checked their X page to see if they had I was expecting to see an animation showing this landing profile for the booster, but Starbase Sim, you are slacking.
I will just note here, it looks like the start time of the SpaceX stream has been pushed back by 5 minutes. So I don't know if that might be indicative of anything about RT0, but looks like they are starting their stream 5 minutes later than originally.
Awesome. And just like last time, we will phase in the SpaceX stream in and out. I'll try and listen to it in the background. If they mention anything important, we will pull in their audio. I'm really hoping that we get some sort of mention of something HLS related today. I have a feeling at minimum they'll mention orbital refueling. Given that that's going to be big with the V3 ship, it would be nice to find out what their current status is on HLS, though.
Yeah, they did put out a post on their website recently talking about how they want cargo missions to the moon, I believe starting in 2028. I don't think that's under HLS. I think that's just SpaceX's own thing, but I'm sure they'll at least mention that on this stream, and maybe we'll get some info about HLS. I know I'm certainly hoping that we do. So maybe with this being the last flight of V2, we'll get a lot more info on V3, which HLS is a part of, presumably.
Maybe we'll get a couple of maybe some footage of the recent Pad 2 testing. Who knows?
We have seen quite a bit of that. That was pretty impressive, especially that deluge.
Yeah, I can actually pull some of that up if y'all would like to see some of that. That'll be so they were actually went quite vigorous with the deluge testing over the last, I think it was just under a month ago. There's so many of them that I could show, but let's see. I'm going to pull up some of the later ones. They were actually doing this like side by side with the looks like the tower vent's still going. Sorry. Let me see here. What is going on with this? Oh, yeah, there we go. Tower vent is definitely stopped now. Why am I not able to?
SpaceX has confirmed that propellant loading of the Starship upper stage is now underway.
And just give me a sec here, y'all. I will pull that up. I'm multitasking here in the background.
Looks like we got some people in chat saying maybe the T0 has shifted a little bit.
Do we have any confirmation on that?
I don't see anything straight from SpaceX, but like I mentioned earlier, they did push back the start of their stream by a little bit, and usually when that happens, that indicates that T0 has moved as well.
While Zach is looking for this deluge video, it's good to mention as well it's going to be the last time we see the hot stage ring in action, because the next Superheavy will have a structure integrated to the forward dome of the Superheavy to manage the hot staging and the ignition of the second stage engine. So it's going to be another last one of the many last times for this test. I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a big fan of those images of the booster extension being jettisoned in the middle of the flight.
Yeah, we do have the integrated hot stage in V3, and that thing looks really cool. It's a bit reminiscent of the old Soviet N1, I think. So that'll be very neat to see in flight. But yeah, we will no longer get the hot stage jettison that we see in the current test flights. And I do see some people in chat saying, looks like the SpaceX website has updated, and it now says right around T-minus 42 minutes and 30 seconds. So looks like T0 has maybe been moved to 6:23, 6:24.
To tell you the truth, the later the better. And not because I want to sit here forever, but we will. The closer it gets to sundown, the more likely we get that jellyfish action, which I'm really excited for. I know that I can't remember who was predicting that they should be able to see some of that in Florida, but if we push the T-0 time enough, we'll be able to see it here as well too, which will be really cool. And I just finished posting that post that I wanted to get up there. But let me go ahead and bring up this deluge test right here. So pretty much on each of these, every day that they test this was basically during the ship static fire test. It was funny because they would do this shortly before the static fire test for the ship. Obviously, they had to scrub that attempt a few times, and so each I think it was about like an hour before that test, as all the cameras were pointed over at the ship, they would do this test, which kind of caught some people off guard. Sorry. Luckily, Lab keeps these cameras posted or pointed towards pad 2. So this is really cool. You can actually see the spray from the weir vent on the large, I think they're like 5 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot pipes in the background. And then you can see the water coming out of the trench right here. So there's two different areas of the actual flame bucket. There is the what we call the ridge, so the ridge cap of the actual bucket, and then there's the bucket itself. And so this is what it looks like when they end the test. You can see a massive venting that comes from the gas generators that they're using. If I move over to the second test, which was, I think in this case, probably about 40 minutes later, you can actually see I think this is the ridge that they're testing in this one. So more water spraying out from the top. You can actually see that stream a little bit better at the bottom down there. But really cool the way that this system is designed. So there is some water that escapes the actual flame trench, and Jesus, that's just such high pressure coming out of there. It's just shooting almost horizontally out from that ridge cap. But the coolest thing about this, which is something that they weren't able to do with pad 1, is that after this test, they have the sump pumps at the bottom of the trench, which allows them to, any water that is remaining down there actually gets pumped back to the water tanks. So they were able to basically recycle this water. I think they offloaded maybe like somewhere between 10 and 20 trucks after this, but for the most part, they're reusing all of that water. So one of the big things that they've mentioned with these tests is that if they reach T-15 and the deluge system actually triggers, then it'll cause them to have to reset for, I think, up to 48 hours as they refill commodities. So that is something that probably won't happen here because most of that water will end up being recovered. So that's really exciting. I mean, they basically did all of these tests within 24 hours of each other each time. So most of that water is recovered, sent back to the tanks, and then used again the next day. So just really, really cool. One thing we haven't seen yet is the test of the deck of the launch mount. So there's basically 3 separate systems. There's the ridge cap, the flame bucket, and then the deck. I guess technically there's more systems as well too, since they have the detonation suppression system, which we have not seen tested yet, surprisingly. I'm not sure if we'll ever see that, truthfully, unless they show it to us from like a camera that's facing down there. But yeah, I have a feeling during the live stream today, they may show us some cool views from this, which would be awesome. Because they did have a drone up in the air for some of these tests. Cool. And so we can start to see that frost line on the ship now. And it looks like the engine chill venting has started as well. Is that camera frozen on us right now, or?
And we did get a tweet out from SpaceX saying that propellant load on Superheavy is now underway.
And for those of you who haven't done so already, if you're in the chat, if you would like to do us a huge favor and hit that like button, we would appreciate y'all. Looks like about 323 of y'all have done so already. Appreciate your support and helping to... Sorry, I'm just seeing my name pop up in the chat and it gets a bit distracting. Somebody's saying my phone's buzzing. I don't think it is. Oh, it is. Well, you know what? I'm not sure what I can do about that. I got to keep the phone here though. So I apologize. I'll try and move it further away from the mic there. Yeah, lots of notifications going off during these events. So apologize for that. What was I just saying? I got distracted by that.
Shameless
Yeah,
plugging.
so sorry. Yeah, if you guys hit that like button, we definitely appreciate it. And also, any donations in the chat are also extremely welcome. It really helps us to keep the streams going. I know Lab recently had to retire one of his vehicles that was originally used for, I think, Rover 1. So, you know, I'm not sure if he has plans on replacing that one, but if so, those donations go a long way into helping to keep as many views as possible.
Yeah, it was really bittersweet to see that thing go, man. But she did her job, and we're gonna get some upgrades going on over here.
Yeah, you took it to the very end. I think you actually ended up losing the brakes on that one, right?
No, the sea cancer just got the whole body, man. It was just tore up. That was the original rover that used to sit out on the beach and get those really cool beach views, and just sat on the beach a little too long, and that sea cancer's hell out here.
Yeah.
No. Maybe SpaceX will graciously donate one of those Cybertrucks they just got.
I was just talking to somebody the other day, and I said, man, with all those Cybertrucks, they ought to give some to the streamers out here.
I just noticed Vix posted a cool shot of the that helicopter flying by, so I'll see if I can pull that up. Shout out to Vix for doing that.
We also have a question in the chat for you, Zach. Dan is asking you, do you think SpaceX corrected the issue that caused the aft end explosion on ship 10? I guess yes, ship 37 from flight 10.
Well, one of the things that I'll show here, actually, I might as well pull it up while I'm also showing this view. So this is the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at the... I don't know if you have this up on the screen yet. And sorry, I think your mic is coming through on this, so I'll mute that. But yeah, this is that helicopter passing by. That is an extremely low pass. Pretty crazy that they are flying like that, but you know, it's the SpaceX owns Starbase City, so they can kind of do whatever they want at this point. But yeah, so the vents that were on the bottom of the ship that caused that issue, you can... I don't know if I can see them from this angle very well. I'm trying to zoom on this. They're basically right here. There's two of them in these positions right there. And as you can obviously tell, they are still there. So the one of the things when I put out an episode about this that I said was that there's like two ways to solve it. Either move the vents so they're further apart from each other, which they obviously have not done, or change the sequence for that cooldown so that they're not both venting at the same time. So I'm imagining that we'll have views that will allow us to see that area of the flaps. And usually whether they're showing one of the views from the top of the ship, or looking at the flaps or the engine cam views, we should be able to see that. So I'll probably make it a point to identify when those vents are happening during the stream. So we'll see if we can actually notice any changes that occur in on that regard.
Real quick, just want to thank Foom for the $50 super chat. Says for the mobile camera mount. Thank you very much for that donation.
Right on, Foom. Yeah, we also had a couple of super chats that came through PayPal. We had, where are we at here? Peter donated $100. Thank you, Peter. He's always coming through for us on every launch here, man. He's a great guy for helping us out. And also Rob Vander Linden, $15 super chat on PayPal. Thank you, Rob. He says, great stream, guys, and thank you, Lab, for all your great live streams. Regards, Crane Man.
Looks like we just had another super chat come in, this time from JK Video with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for your extended support there.
Right on, JK Video. There was one other that came, I'm not sure that we mentioned. Maybe you did and I just didn't hear. Norman Reitzel, $5 super chat earlier, says, please try and include as much telemetry as possible.
I'm not sure if they're referring to SpaceX telemetry, but I would agree if that's what they're referring to, because while they have, done some renovations, I guess, to their stream to kind of make it look a little bit different, showing different things, especially with the ship attitude, they hide the telemetry at certain points. So they used to show both the booster and ship telemetry at the same time, but now they no longer do that, which I'm kind of sad about. I almost wonder if somehow, I don't say this as humbly as possible, but if somehow I'm to blame for that, for going way too deep and analyzing that telemetry. I hope that's not the case, but yeah, really sad that they no longer show the full telemetry. Get a lot of information from that if you're once you extract it.
And it may not be the telemetry you're thinking of, but we also have our seismometer and our infrasound meters going on today from the top of the Sapphire condominiums. So we'll be getting some data and showing you all that later on.
Awesome. And it looks like we have that live feed from SpaceX up there now.
That we do, and we got another $50 super chat coming in from Terry Pavlik. Thank you, Terry, for the super chat there.
Right on, Terry. Thanks a bunch.
Yeah, we'll mute that music for now, I guess, so we don't risk copyright strike.
Also, a special shout out to all the members that have been showing off how long they've been with us. I just see the recent one come in. Dan Kerman is, Dan just gifted 5 LabPadre space memberships. But back to what I was saying, yeah, all the members that have been showing off how long they've been with us. Some of y'all been with us for, I see Eagle Eye Chuck, 69 months. The big 69, Eagle Eye.
Nice.
Also, Peter Larrick, 64 months. Erna, 50 months. Mouser, 69 months. Wow. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring up that stream.
Just under 2 miles away from the rocket on the pad, right outside on the lawn, the crowd is starting to gather. And after liftoff, we expect that crowd to head back in to watch the rest of the launch with us and have a party.
And right behind us are 3 generations of Raptor engines, the third of which we're looking to debut on the next generation of Starship. And we'll talk a little bit more about that upgraded rocket later in the program.
Yeah, and if you watched Flight 10, you'll know it was a really, really good day for Starship. All objectives were met, and we got tons of great data to learn from. And today, we're looking to build on the success of that flight.
Yeah, that's right. Like in Flight 10, we're again planning to deploy Starlink simulator satellites as well as test the limits of ship's heat shield during re-entry. A controlled descent, flip maneuver, and soft splash in the Indian Ocean are also planned for ship. And hopefully, our recovery team will be able to deliver some more of those amazing views that we got back on Flight 10.
Yeah, those views are just awesome. Another crazy thing, and for those of you keeping track, today actually marks the 1-year anniversary of our historic first ever booster catch. That was Booster 12. And even though we're not attempting a catch today, every time we launch a Starship, it's a big day. All right, so everyone, buckle up because maximum excitement is guaranteed.
All right.
And Dan Hewitt joins us from over near Mission Control. Dan, how are things looking for launch today?
Hey, Jake. Hey, Amanda. Hey, everybody. We are looking great. I'm Dan Hewitt with SpaceX Communications. That's right. Right behind me is our Launch Control Center here at Starbase. Flight Control team is on there. They're getting Starship and Superheavy ready for liftoff. So as you can tell, when we look at the vehicle, prop load is underway. Things are looking good. We did shift our T0 a little bit. We're tracking to 6:23 p.m. Central Time, just a couple minutes into our window. All right, so as we noted, back in August, Flight 10, it did all the things. Did all the things we wanted it to do. Started off with Superheavy, those 33 Raptor engines igniting, lifting off right at the top of its window at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It was able to do a successful ascent, followed that up with hot staging, Starship's upper stage igniting those 6 Raptor engines, separating Superheavy, making its way back down. We saw the hot stage pop off. It then completed its boost back burn, put it on the course towards that splashdown zone. It successfully did that landing burn when we intentionally disabled one of those 3 center engines. During the final phase of that, used a backup engine, entered into its final hover, shut down the engines, and then splashed down into the water. Ship, meanwhile, completed full duration ascent burn, got to its planned velocity, successfully put it on that suborbital trajectory, and then it was on to the in-space stuff. That first in-space objective was completed. 8 of those Starlink simulators were deployed. That was the first successful payload demonstration we've ever had from Starship. Each of these simulators, similar in size to the V3 Starlinks that we're going to be launching next year to add significant capacity and capability to the network. Then it was on to our second ever in-space relight of a Raptor engine. That's a key capability for when we're going to do deorbit burns on future orbital missions, and then when we're doing deep space maneuvers. Then on to the critical reentry phase, we're able to get data on the performance of that heat shield, the ship structure, push the envelope on it, using the flaps, got it down to the splashdown zone, did the landing flip, did the landing burn. Killer views from the recovery team, soft splashdown over in the Indian Ocean. We were just about 3 meters off of our target, so pretty much nailed it. It was a huge day, tons of excitement here at Starbase. Just a reminder, though, this is still the early days. I mean, we're on Flight 11 today. There's a lot more we're going to do to get full reusability, increase our launch cadence, eventually start sending missions to the Moon and Mars. I mean, we've got thousands of launches to come. But for now, we're looking good for launch. Toss it back down to Amanda and Jake.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Starship is the first orbital launch vehicle engineered to be fully reusable, just like a commercial airliner. In fact, to the end, we're actually reflying a Superheavy booster for the second time today. This booster last flew on Flight 8. So let's just start with how powerful this rocket really is. When you stack Starship up against one of the world's biggest airplanes, the 747, a single Raptor engine is actually double the thrust of all 4 airplane engines put together. So that means the Superheavy over on the pad right now, with its 33 Raptors, is equal to the power of about 64 747s.
Yeah, that's just crazy, Amanda.
All right.
The power this rocket generates.
Probably heard this part quite a few times before. It's these size comparisons. So we'll go ahead and bring that audio back in once they move on to other topics. But yeah, exciting times. It looks like the booster methane tank. I don't know if that view is frozen down there or not, maybe. But looks like they're about halfway on the methane tank on the booster, a little bit further on the ship currently.
Been good.
We are just under 21 minutes now to T-minus 0. Things are starting to cool down, and we're about to see some fire here in just a minute.
Yeah, it seems like our clock is like a full minute ahead. I don't know if that's hopefully not going to be an issue.
I know during stream they mentioned 6:23 is the current T0 target. We did get a another donation while that stream was starting up. This one from Irna with 30,000 IDR. Forgive me for not knowing exactly what currency that is, but nonetheless, thank you so much for your extended support.
Yeah, this is gonna be bittersweet seeing the end of Pad 1, or at least the temporary end of Pad 1. But man, that is such a beautiful view right there with that ship static fire test.
That is one thing I guess I could say I will miss about this this
as we
launch
head
mount
into
is the is that deluge system. That's always looked really cool to me. But we do have a much more powerful, much more interesting one on Pad B. So
Do you think the top deck, the deluge on the Pad 2, will be something similar? In terms of pressure, shape, is it going to look like the booster bidet, but on top of Pad 2, or?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big things that they've done differently here is basically 3 separate gas generation systems for each part of that deluge system. So they'll be able to like dial in the pressure for each part of the system. So you probably have highest pressure on the actual probably the ridge cap, if I had to guess, because that's closest to the vehicle, and then slightly lower pressure on the flame bucket, and then it'd be interesting to see what they do for the deck, if that's going to be similar as far as pressure goes to what we see with the booster bidet system for Pad 1. Yeah, it's going to be really cool, and that one will be activated after the others. So basically, after liftoff, we'll see that activated. It's going to be very interesting because it's basically at the level of the bottom of the booster, which it should spray outwards. So even if they do turn it on before liftoff, it shouldn't actually touch the vehicle more than likely. So it'll be very interesting. But protecting the top deck of the launch mount is going to be crucial for rapid reusability in the future. But overall, just massive amounts of water in comparison to what they have on the Pad A currently. So lots of familiar faces in the chat. We've got Jessica Kirsch, our T-minus Liv. Used to throw lots of chairs in the chat. I haven't seen her do that in a while, so she's calmed down a little bit.
we got Sharpie in chat saying they're going to be putting on a haptics vest. That is certainly one way to experience the launch. You rattling your lungs.
Also, you guys don't forget, we have Crowfest coming up October 25th. Know we'll be seeing some of you guys out there. Sharpie's going to be out there. Vix is going to be out there. Shenanigans is going to be out there. How about you, Zach?
I was hoping to go this year. I had some pretty severe car issues that I had to take care of. Luckily, I got them fixed, but I don't know. I don't know if I can afford that extra expense this month or not. I'm on the fence about it, honestly.
I hear you, man. I know about those car expenses.
Yeah.
Having 4 Rovers out here and my regular everyday driver, there's always something breaking. Either something's breaking or something needs to be registered or inspected. It's always something.
We're getting
Hear you
some nice
there.
views of the. Sorry, we're getting some nice
Oh, you're
views.
good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can see on the live stream the top views of the new air separation units, or at least I guess the foundation of it. It's pretty cool.
This iteration
I
of
love
ship.
the view.
And prior to every launch, we work closely with the FAA and international air traffic organizations to efficiently and safely integrate launch and reentry operations into the airspace.
And we've got a special guest
visitor
here.
today.
We're live.
What's up, guys?
How's it going? Good to see you, boss.
Hi.
Hey. How's the webcam?
Good. We're live right now.
What the?
Yeah. Getting ready for Flight
Wanna say
11. How are you feeling
Get out
for
of
it?
my shot, dude.
This is the first time that I'm going to be actually outside standing and watching the rocket. Normally I'm in mission control and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But now I'll be standing in the garden there.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
it's really going to be much more visceral.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna feel
Great
it.
place
It's
to
gonna
watch.
be. It's gonna be. It's gonna be awesome.
When it's opening?
We'll be in here this time, but usually we're out there watching. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All
Good
right,
luck
Later.
and have fun.
Have fun.
All right, so that was an exciting cameo there. But yeah, starting with liftoff, we'll get into the flight profile here. Superheavy will ignite 33 engines, 24 of which are flight proven today. We'll power through ascent ahead of hot stage separation, where booster will shut down all but 3 engines. Stage 2 lights its Raptor engines while still attached to Superheavy. That is what we call hot stage separation. We'll see a directional booster flip and engine relight for boost back. And we'll be intentionally headed to a splashdown in the Gulf with a V3 style landing burn demonstration today.
Meanwhile, ship will continue with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory, where it will attempt to deploy 8 Starlink simulator satellites. And we're also planning to relight a single Raptor engine. Then it's time for a re-entry, where we're once again testing the limits of Starship's heat shield by intentionally removing tiles. The ship will also perform a pretty dynamic banking maneuver that mimics the path of a return to launch site for Ketch that will fly on a future mission. And if all that goes as planned, we'll conclude the test with a landing flip, burn, and soft water splashdown in the Indian Ocean. So definitely another action-packed flight profile, Dan.
This is planned to be the final launch of this version of Starship, version number 2. Right now, we're actively building multiple next-generation V3 Starship and Superheavy vehicles in the factory, kind of right behind us, so let's take a minute and nerd out a little bit. All right. Those are going to be launching from Pad 2, which is nearing completion down here at Starbase. Both the pad and the vehicles are going to roll in really significant changes. This is building on everything we've learned from all of these flight tests to make a vehicle that we're looking to mass produce. Starting with the Starship upper stage, which is going to look pretty similar on the outside, but it's getting pretty much a complete overhaul under the hood. We're getting major design changes to its propulsion system that's going to accommodate that new version of Raptor, which puts out higher thrust. We're also getting an energy storage upgrades, tons of avionics changes, a lot of things that will enable longer duration missions. One notable thing you'll start seeing on the outside are these new docking adapters, which we'll use when we bring 2 starships together for propellant transfer. That's a core capability of Starship that we're going to demonstrate next year. Bottom line, though, this is the Starship we're planning to use for all of our next major milestones: orbital missions, return to launch site and catch, reuse, propellant transfer, and then making our way to the moon and Mars. Now, Superheavy, we've shown some of this off, some of this hardware already coming out of the factory. It has upgrades like this, a redesigned fuel transfer tube. That thing's roughly the same size as the first stage of a Falcon 9 rocket. That channels all that cryogenic fuel down to Superheavy's 33 engines. We made it bigger. Basically a rocket inside of our rocket that gives us a faster, more reliable flip and simultaneous engine startup. New booster also going to have an integrated hot stage, a lot more vent area, and it's designed to be fully reusable. Pressure from those engine plumes gets vented out, mostly offset just by the pressure in the fuel tank. That is the top of the fuel tank. And then we add a non-structural layer of steel on the top that helps take all the heating. It's mapped to where all the high heating goes. Grid fins also getting a big change, going from 4 down to 3. They're 50% larger, though, much higher strength. They're also going to get used for vehicle lift and catch. That's all made possible. There's a new catch point addition on those grid fins. We've also kind of reclocked their position on the booster. That aligns them with the catch arms. The Yeah, we got it right in the middle there. All right, and then powering it all, Raptor 3. Looks radically different, just straight up radical. Tons of major changes. It's coming in higher thrust, dramatic reduction in parts, tons of control mechanisms moved inside. Our McGregor team's built some additional stands like this one, which
that gimbal.
essentially is the bottom of a super heavy booster. Lets us do gimbal or steering tests. So that's been really exciting to see. We've also been getting vacuum versions of Raptor 3 into test. The first flight engines are already in production and are about to start acceptance testing for Flight 12. So a lot of exciting changes coming, and we're getting ready to mass produce everything, including one of the really key contributors to that rapid reusability, the heat shield tiles. Let's jump over to Tyler real quick in Hawthorne, who's got a really cool look at what's happening with tiles in Florida.
Thank you, Dan. Indeed, Starship's heat shield is the linchpin to full and rapid reusability. We can't launch, land, refuel, and launch again
Yeah, that was
if we have to spend
really
months
cool what they
refurbishing.
just showed there for the forward section of the booster. I can actually probably pull that up really quick.
We're
So
getting
that's
spoiled.
a question that a lot of people have been wondering for quite some time. So here's a little screenshot of that. The forward section of the booster, a lot of people were wondering how that's going to work, since it's going to basically be integrated into the vehicle. So you could see they actually have the basically additional panels on top of it. So this is basically like a heat shield. So I'm guessing these are supposed to be in line with different parts of the so different engines. So it's actually a little bit weird, because the RVACs, I mean, this doesn't look like an actual RVAC position right here. It almost seems like this would be an RVAC position, but I would expect that to be further down. So very interesting. This might actually be the RVAC position right here, but that doesn't necessarily make sense. But either way, you definitely see multiple layers of shielding added onto this, which is interesting. I would imagine that eventually, over time, this would get worn down, and I wonder if this is something that they could, like, you know, shave off and add a new one on there if they needed to. The way that it's welded on there, though, I imagine that's not something they would ever want to have to do. But still, pretty cool piece of information right there that we had not seen before this. But I imagine if this is a 4mm dome, I have to imagine it's thicker than that. The existing hot stage ring is, from what I know, somewhere between 8 to 12 millimeters. So these panels right here appear to be 4mm. So it's assuming this is 4 millimeters. This would be 12 millimeters total, but I have a feeling the actual forward dome is thicker than that.
Ooh, Zach, I hate to interrupt, but we've just got some amazing views of the bakery with also a couple of shots of this famous the crunch wrap. Lots of very interesting things that they've been showing on the live stream as well. I don't know if we can go back and have a look at.
I may be able to pull up a screenshot of it. Just give me a minute here.
They were basically showing the process, how the heat ties are processed and made, and they also spoke a little bit about the gap fillers that they're going to be using on the second stage. I couldn't hear everything.
Before we get on with the launch here, a quick shout out to Jeffrey with a $25 super chat coming through PayPal, I think. PayPal or Venmo. Thanks for all the live streams, bro. And thank you, Jeffrey.
Exactly right, Amanda. And our first missions to the Red Planet are just down the road, and we recently shared some exciting news. Starship cargo flights to the Martian surface for research, development, and exploratory missions begin in 2030. And we already have our first customer.
Yeah, exactly. Starship is open for business, and one of the first payloads will be provided by the Italian Space Agency. They recently signed a first-of-its-kind agreement to carry Italian experiments on the initial Starship missions that deliver customer payloads to Mars. In related news, Starship cargo flights to the surface of the Moon for research, development, and exploratory missions will start in 2028. So a ton of Starship activity to look forward to, and if you'd like to learn more about our mission to making humanity multiplanetary, go ahead and visit spacex.com/Mars.
Awesome. So we are 7 minutes away from liftoff. Yeah, so this is the shot that they showed that we missed out on the bakery. So you can see, I'm imagining this thing is running 24/7 cranking out tiles, but this is pretty cool. Imagine they have multiple of these as well too.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump off the stream here and head over to the tracking camera outside on the platform. Godspeed, Block 2. Let's get her done.
Oh, wow. It's pretty cool.
Which is just crazy. We're also looking for civil and structural
Is
engineers to
was
help
that
literally build the
39.1?
future.
Whether it's buildings like the Gigabays currently going up at both Starbase and the Cape, each is a massive vertical integration and assembly facility with over 700,000 square feet of workspace. Both sites are currently in progress, actually going vertical as we speak. Or you could be designing the Starship launch sites of the future. There's really no shortage of future to build here. So visit spacex.com/careers to see all of our openings if you're interested.
Okay, now as we head into terminal count, all eyes are on the rocket. Dan, how are we looking? Are we green?
Amanda, we are so green. Everything's still looking really good. So we've got a green range, not tracking any blockers there to launch. We're continuing to load prop on board the vehicle.
We are so green.
Close out, so we'll close out. Again, just about
Alrighty,
3
so we
minutes.
got 5 minutes left. And then it's game time.
One last ride for V2 and the old OLM.
Okay, I don't know about you guys, but we've got so many nice new footage from Marseille. I didn't know where to look anymore.
Yeah.
So
Definitely cool that they showed that test for the booster 18.1 test tank. I was hoping they would give us some more details about that on all of the things that they were testing there, but it's still cool to actually see some up-close shots for that. They are also testing another article 18.3 currently, and that one is basically right next to 18.1 right now, and they're preparing, it looks like, to do some tests on the actual grid fin mounting points. So that should be interesting to see as well too. Although, given how far away it is at that massive facility, kind of hard to see some of the details when they're actually testing that. But it's just good to know that they're actually in the process of doing that, because it's something that's been, I feel like, a little bit late, almost a little bit. We haven't seen any test articles for the ship yet actually move out to Massey's. So it seems like they're a little bit behind on that as well too. But
SpaceX is showing off the onboard views right now.
wow.
Really see from there that we are almost getting a sunset launch here.
Yeah, I do wish it was a bit later.
We might, especially for folks over in Florida, we might see a little bit of a jellyfish, though. I'm still holding out hope. Just as a quick reminder, when we get to T-minus 40 seconds, SpaceX does have an option to hold if they need to, but right now it's looking like they're going to breeze right through it. Oh, we got the engine bay shot for Superheavy on the SpaceX stream. They're doing the TVC wiggles. Always cool to see the Raptors moving there.
Still not tracking any issues on vehicle or pad. 1 minute to go. As a reminder, we can
Alrighty.
hold
Terminal countdown
at
right here.
T-minus 40. We're not planning to.
We're through T-minus 40.
All right. We're through T-minus 40. Let's listen in. Flight Director Ty Huntington back in the seat. Take us through the final
Flight
seconds
Directors, go
until
for launch.
Light this candle.
All right, here we go. We have liftoff.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Beautiful.
Final liftoff of version 2 booster and ship.
Looks like we got all 33 Raptors.
Yeah, Lab's got some phenomenal tracking footage right there. It almost looks like it's not even moving. That is awesome.
That audio.
Max
Q.
You know, I'm wondering when we get the V3.
So at this point, we've passed through
Raptor
that
3s if will
period of
end up being
maximum
much
aerodynamic
louder than these
pressure.
ones.
The next
Possibly.
thing we're looking forward to is going to be hot staging. So we've got 33 out of 33 Raptors lit. Superheavy makes its way uphill. Hot staging is going to be coming up
Great views.
in just a little over a minute. At that point, we're going to see all but 3 of those Raptor engines on Superheavy shut down. Our version of Miko, most engines cut off instead
Like
of main
SpaceX's
engine.
tracking cam is struggling a little bit.
And then after that, we're going to release the clamps that are currently holding
Should be seeing the
Starship
whole stack
to that
rotate
hot
here in just
stage
a second.
adapter. It's then going to ignite its 6 Raptor engines to push it away from Superheavy and then start making its flight uphill.
There it goes.
So in about 30 seconds, we're going to see the engines start to shut down on Superheavy. You'll see them kind of shut off in separate banks until we've just got those 3 center engines that never stop running for this process, and then looking for 6 ship Raptors. All right. Miko coming up in about 10 seconds. See the engines throttling down.
Booster engine cut off. Ship ignition.
Looking good. Looks like they're down 1 engine on booster.
Stage separation. Boost back burn startup.
It's pretty much standard these days, losing 1 engine.
All right, successful hot staging maneuver. So we've got 12 of the 13 engines lit back up on boosters, so it's doing its boost back. Real
Right, we're gonna get to see which engines they use during that landing burn, which would be exciting.
So it's now going to continue to make its ascent into outer
That view in the
space.
skirt looks incredible.
Meanwhile, this boost back is happening. We're using
There's that
those
vent
13
again.
engines.
I'm pretty sure that's
So
intentional.
everything, 12 out of the 13, and then we go down to 3, and then we're going to shut down for the end of boost
Once
back.
again,
That's
no
sending
booster telemetry,
Superheavy
which is
back towards its planned splashdown
fortunate.
zone in the Gulf. Right after we finish this boost back burn, we're also going to separate the hot stage. This will be the final time that we're doing this. Is all right. There's the end of the boost back burn. We should be seeing the hot stage.
That was really cool.
So the hot stage separates. It's going to make its way down, also splash down in the Gulf. In the meantime, though, these 6 ship Raptors are going to continue firing for about 5 more minutes. Next up for the booster, though, is going to be its landing burn. There's a cool tracking shot. We dump some of the prop out on our way back in.
See the hot staging ring floating there.
All right, so for booster, this is one of the main things we're trying to get is going to be this landing burn. Oh, that's so you can see the hot stage kind of making its way towards the left side. So that's the bottom of the booster. It's about to pass right in front of where you can see some of that prop dump happening. They look like they're close together, but there's a good amount of distance between them, and the hot stage will go down and splash down in the Gulf while the booster comes back for its landing burn.
The visibility is incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Starship is on nominal trajectory.
All right. Looking good on our trajectory, looking
Ship's
good
looking
on everything. Jake and Amanda, you guys with me down there?
Yeah, definitely. The crowd is gathering over here in the office. You can definitely feel the energy in here. Great to see that booster is making its way down to the splashdown zone in the Gulf.
Yeah, the shaking down here was absolutely nuts. The windows are still there, still intact. So that was pretty awesome. 30 kilometers,
Booster coming in hot.
All right, yeah, and as we approach that landing, just like tower catches, we will be doing a 13-engine landing burn to slow down. This time it will be in a V3 configuration. And as we're starting to get into the denser part of the atmosphere, the booster is using 4 hypersonic grid fins to guide itself through atmospheric entry towards its landing site.
All right, we should
And
be
we're
able
just
to
about
see which
20
engines they
seconds
go
away
with.
from landing burn start, where we'll first ignite the center 13 engines, then bring that down to 5 to slow down the booster for landing. And finally, that will come down to 3, and we'll cut all of them off while we're still
There we go, engine
200
diagram.
meters in the air. So booster is gonna see a bit of a
Oh.
Whoa. Okay, that was weird. I guess PSC got that correct.
Booster landing burn shut down.
And there we heard it, booster landing burn
And
shut
there's
down.
cutoff.
We saw a 13 to 5 to 3 V3 demonstration, and into the water we go.
Oh wow, looks like Lab got a great shot of that explosion right there.
If you can
So
even hear us
long,
right
booster
now,
15.
Congrats to the whole SpaceX team. So far, so good for today. That was incredible.
Awesome.
All right, great stuff, guys. I'm jealous of the crowd. All right, back to ship. Ship's still making its way. We've got a little under 2 minutes left in this ascent burn, so we've got all 6
Hopefully
Raptor
Lab will
engines still firing.
post some footage from that later.
So the next major milestone we're going to be looking for is SECO. That's our second stage engine cutoff. That's should be coming right at about 8 minutes and 58 seconds into flight. So we've got about 1:20 still to go. Really cool to see Booster go through that landing burn. That was one of our really key demonstrations.
If anybody's getting
we
some
wanted to try and do
jellyfish action
today,
in Florida.
That's mimicking what we're going to be hopefully doing. Oh, we just got our sonic boom, sounds like, from the booster coming back. All right, less than a minute to go. So we are going to see
That's a great
the
view.
3 RVACs, the vacuum optimized engines, shut down first, and then we'll shut down those 3 center engines. So we should be a little under a minute until SECO. Just a reminder, this is putting us into a suborbital trajectory, so we're intentionally just going slow enough that we're not going to achieve full orbit. This puts us on a course where those engines shut off, and no matter what, we're coming back.
Starship is in terminal
zone
guidance.
in the Indian Ocean. All right, terminal guidance. So we should start seeing the shutdowns come up in just a couple seconds. Less than 30 seconds to go in this ship ascent burn.
They've got to have some really cool views from Florida.
All right, RVACs have shut off. 3 more to go.
Ship engine cutoff.
All right. Another successful SECO.
All right, all ship Raptors have shut
Nominal
down.
orbit insertion.
You just heard
All right,
nominal
let's see if
orbital
we,
insertion, so we are on the path that we wanted to be. So we've got a ship back in
They've
space.
solved the issues
A whole
with
lot
what
planned
happened
for it,
last
lots
time.
more still to come. Great seeing Superheavy
I think it'll be
make its way
quite
to
some
the water,
time
but I'm excited to see what
before we
ships
see
do
that. I
in
think it
space.
was
How's
like
everybody doing
38
down there?
minutes in where that happened last time.
It was right at the start of entry.
Well, there's 2 separate events.
Yeah, if you could hear the
Oh,
crowd
looks like
behind
some
us
of
this
these
whole
tiles
time,
fell
people
off.
are definitely
Yeah,
happy with
at
how the
least
day's been
1,
panning out
2,
so
3,
far.
4,
Definitely
5,
exciting to see
6,
Starship
7,
safely in
8,
space, and super pumped
9.
to see all the team's hard work in action here today.
Yeah, and we guaranteed it at the start of the show, but it has been an awesome day so far. It's crazy. All this has happened in just 10 minutes. All the
That's
objectives were
that's
met
an
on the
interesting
booster,
view.
including that V3
All the
style
Yeah, it's
views
pretty
landing
cool.
out there.
Basically,
I
you're
saw a
seeing
tile
the
go flying.
ship as we get ready
Yeah,
for
and you
our
can see the
space objectives.
the
But we've got a few
locks
minutes until that
dumping
next
happening
milestone,
right now, so
sit
they're
tight,
basically
enjoy the
purging all the
views,
liquid
enjoy
oxygen
Space
from the
Jam,
tank.
and we'll be back at T plus 16 minutes for payload deploy.
Everything looking great so far, though.
Another nominal ascent.
It looks like
Getting
they
into
managed to
sunset
recover
now.
this engine that was missing during the landing burn.
Oh, that's right. I did notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said TSE ended up being correct on the
He
the
did.
2
He
extra
did.
engines there.
I wonder if I don't know if Lab will be able to show us that footage that he got from the landing, but it looked like it was really good tracking shot. And we can see the sun going down over the horizon right there. That is amazing view.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I missed the landing. I lost it in the clouds a little bit and didn't really catch it.
Well, you got the explosion.
And we see the OLM lays empty. she'll stay that way.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do when they demolish it. Like I would like to see some explosives used, but I highly doubt they're going to do that. But the structure is so heavy that it's going to be interesting. Imagine they probably cut it into like first cut all the shielding off, then probably try and remove as many of the mechanical components as they can before they start, cutting the rest of it apart. But it's going to be very interesting.
Put that thing in a museum. Oh, that's cool. You can see some of the city lights on the night side of Earth there. I don't know if I've noticed that on one of these flights before.
No, I wonder where that is. Because it should be past Florida already. That would be smart, right? Yeah, that's what, Venezuela?
Yeah, it looks like some part of South America for sure. Venezuela, Colombia.
Does the ship orientation looks okay to you guys?
It looks like it's already in the orientation for a payload deploy for some reason.
Okay.
They did say that would be at 16 minutes, or at least is when the commentators would be back for payload deploy. So
Okay.
one interesting thing I've noticed, we have seen a few kind of random bright spots coming from the aft end of the ship. Not exactly sure what that is, but we're not seeing any off-nominal slewing or anything, so not sure.
Is that a cable we see on the forward flap there? That was interesting.
Yeah, that's weird. It does look like something sticking out from there. It's like a lot of heavy venting going on right now. It's just like surrounding the ship.
Yeah.
Seemed like a little bright flash from the back of the ship a little bit ago, but
Oh, that's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool diagram right there. Yeah, I wonder what that flash that came from the back was a few minutes ago. I hope they show that engine view again so we can see if there's any damage down there.
Yeah, there were a few of them. There was like, I saw that happen like maybe 3 or 4 times. SpaceX's timeline says payload deploy demo starts at T+1828. So we're just under 3 minutes away from that.
I got a view of the that flash. Can probably pull it up here, but I'll
make their way into outer space. But great flight so far. Booster able to make it all the way to its splashdown and landing burn experiment, so that was really exciting to see. We got ship on orbit, nominal orbital insertion, so right in the money with its trajectory. And now we're ready to start tackling a couple of in-space objectives. So next up, we are currently venting down the nose cone, essentially the payload area of Starship, as we get ready to open up this payload door. We were able to do this successfully for the very first time on our last flight, on Flight 10.
Oh, that's nice.
Hal got ahead of me. Looks like he's opening up the payload door already.
Oh, we can see the light. That's good.
Speaking of, we did get a question in chat from Lucid saying, when is SpaceX gonna put a light on Starship
right,
so
looks
we can
like we
see
got
it when
the
it's
door-
dark like this?
So I don't know if we cut audio right there or not, but if you want, I can show that little flash that we saw here. I got
All
that
right,
up
so
on my
payload door is
screen.
open. Next up, going to be to
I think we have a
start
few minutes
deploying these
until they
Starlink simulators.
deploy these.
They are roughly the same size as the V3 Starlink satellites that Starship's going to be carrying. That's going to add
What was that?
some pretty crazy capacity. We'll run through the numbers in a little bit.
Oh,
We were able
sorry,
to
I did
do
miss the
the very
question.
first time ever on our last flight.
We got a question from our very own Lucid asking, when are they gonna put lights on Starship so that we can see it when it's dark like it is now?
But excited to see what's in the door.
Yeah, good question. I mean,
Starship's also gonna have
I don't know
more
if
powerful
there's a
payloads.
reason for them to.
Deploy these at a little bit faster
I would
As cool
imagine
as it would be.
maybe when they start doing orbital refilling and they're docking some ships, maybe they'd want to put some lights on it. I know
Yeah.
generally, like when you see like visiting vehicles to the ISS, usually you'll see some navigational
Right.
lights on there.
That view on your left, so you're basically that would be if you were sitting at the very top of the
If you want to pull up this view that I have right here, I can show that flash.
There's 4 on either side, so 8 total when we start flying Starlinks.
Let's see. Sorry, guys. We're working on getting this up here. Maybe we'll abandon this mission until after the payload deploy.
It looks like they are deploying the Starlinks now.
Yeah, they're deploying them right now. We can show this after that.
All right, first one's deployed. Getting ready for the second one here. We do a little reset back to the center position.
Yeah, it takes about a minute for each one.
I don't know about you, but that looks a lot straighter
Yeah, I was about
than
to
some of
say.
the deployments on the last flight.
Looks
Love-
real
yeah.
smooth too. They made a couple of tweaks to those rails. If you watched the last ones, it had a couple of bumps on the way out, but moving out super clean this time.
Speak of the
Yeah,
devil.
and as noted earlier in the show, but definitely worth repeating, Starship will deploy Starlink's more advanced V3 satellites, adding 60 terabits per second of capacity to the network per launch. So that's 20 times more than each Falcon 9 launch does today. Just incredible.
Yeah, and anybody
Wow.
that's been
Love
following
watching this
Starship,
mechanism.
you know, Starlink's kind of
The bicycle
the
chain.
MVP for these flight tests, where it's not only giving us the views we're seeing right now, but also just real-time data through every phase of flight. So we've got a couple dozen cameras on Starship. We've also got a bunch of cameras spread across the globe, including out in the Indian Ocean, where we've got our fun buoys floating. There goes another one. And I mean, we're using Starlink to bring all of this together. It's our drone shots you see here from
I wonder what they did to
our great
improve the
team
way
down
that
here at
those.
Starbase, all connected. So Starlink not only giving us cool views off the planet, but also on the planet, help bring everybody along for all these Starship flights. I think that's number 4. Somebody check my math.
It is definitely a lot better than last time.
Yeah, we've got 4 Starlink
Yeah, whatever changes
terminals
they made
on the
seem to have
outside of
worked.
Starship. He uses that to talk to the constellation, and through that, we actually get about 120 megabits of bandwidth for our downlink. That's our real-time HD video, all of our telemetry. So it's not just kind of giving us these cool views inside, but it's giving all that engineering data in real time, including re-entry when normally a plasma layer builds up and blocks you out. Starlink, powerful enough of a frequency that we're able to kind of punch through that and still get that live view.
So there is something on one of these Starlinks. Like if you look on the right image, you can see a little black square on the left side of the top one. I wonder what that's about because I don't see it on the other ones.
Please be a camera. Please be a camera.
I have a feeling they don't have cameras, but I mean,
next one out the door.
You would probably need a Starlink
that's
dish
There
on
we
there.
go.
Right? Yeah, they had a light. This would be awesome.
All right, yeah, Starlink is the world's largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet. This provides internet access to people around the world, many of who have never had connectivity before. Oh. Right. Today, Starlink serves more than 150 countries, territories, and other markets with over 7 million active customers and counting. To meet the global growing demand for high-speed internet, SpaceX expanded its factory over in Bastrop, Texas, which is just outside of Austin, and also introduced Starlink Mini, as well as an upgraded version of the Starlink Standard Kit.
Yeah, and one thing to note about the satellite deploy is that they will be following the same suborbital trajectory of the ship. So these dummy sats will not be going in orbit. We do expect them to burn up on re-entry.
Releasing now have some sort of cable on the side of them. So if there are cameras on any of them, which I do have my doubts on, it will probably be on
I
these.
promise one of these days we'll deploy in daylight. But we're basically trading deploy in the dark so we get those re-entry views for the daytime.
You know, I highly doubt we're going to see a camera on any of these, but a man can dream. Then again, it's not like we'd see anything from one of those cameras.
Right,
They don't have a light.
One more to go.
All right, now with payload deploy complete, Starship will now close its payload door and continue to coast around Earth to the Indian Ocean. We still have a ton of major events to come today, including Raptor relight at about T plus 37 minutes.
Yeah. So I can go ahead and show that flash now. So you can see that basically right down at the bottom right there. That looks like around the area where, not necessarily right at the area where those vents are, but it does seem to be close by. So hopefully we'll get some engine bay shots here soon.
Looks like they've closed the Pez door.
All right, with that payload door closed, we're going to sit tight, enjoy the views, and enjoy the space jams. Again, we'll be back in just a few minutes for Raptor relight and then head back for reentry.
Yeah, I wonder if and my guess is maybe that was just like a little burp or a little hiccup in a vent or something. hopefully nothing too energetic like what we saw on the last flight.
How many of these explosions you saw? Just one, or?
I think there was 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, there were multiple.
Same
yeah, there were
spot?
3 or 4.
We're replaying some launch footage here.
We can hold at T-minus 40. We're not planning to. All right. We're through T-minus 40. Let's listen in. Flight Director Ty Huntington back in the seat. Take us through the final
Flight
seconds
Directors, go
until
for launch.
Somebody from the chat said they had some cool shots that they recorded from Florida. So if they, I can't remember who that was, but if they tag me on X, I will go ahead and post that up here so we can see it.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will miss this delicious system. It was always cool.
Go Superheavy, go
Dramatic.
Starship. Thanks for all the historic flights, Pad 1.
Oh, it looks like
Eagles pitching downrange.
let's see. Yeah, it looks like
Booster
Starship
Raptor, chamber pressure nominal.
was visible from Florida. They did get a jellyfish.
Booster and ship, nominal power and telemetry.
Yeah, I'm looking on X right now. I haven't seen any good videos yet.
We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines lit on Superheavy as it arcs across the Gulf. Coming up next on Max Q.
Max
All right,
Q.
So at this point, we've passed through that period of maximum aerodynamic pressure. The next thing we're looking forward to is going to be hot state.
Yeah, look,
so,
a little red
33 out of 33
thing hanging
Raptors
off the
lit.
side there.
Superheavy makes its way uphill.
It almost looks like one of those
Hot state
removed
is
before
going to be
flight
coming
tags,
up,
but
in just a little
I
over
believe
a
that was
minute.
part of the
going to
little
see
black thermal blankets they have right there. I think it was part of
all
that
but
peeling off.
3 of those Raptor engines on Superheavy shut down. Our version of Miko. Most engines cut off instead of main engine. And then after that, we're going to release the clamps that are currently holding Starship to that hot stage adapter. It's then going to ignite its 6 Raptor engines to push it away from Superheavy and then start making its flight uphill. So in about 30 seconds, we're going to see the engines start to shut down on Superheavy. You'll see them kind of shut off in separate banks
still searching
until
here.
we've just got those 3 center engines that never stop running for this process, and then looking for 6 ship Raptors.
The map on the webcast is really interesting because, like, it barely. I mean, I feel like it looks like it's barely moving, like it's not keeping up. All right, they got back to showing us some views of the ship here. It looks like it's slowly moving back towards its forward orientation.
I think
Do
we
see a
all have,
question in the chat. Crane Man asks, is the acceleration on the edge of the aft flaps from hot staging? And yes, that is heat from those engines escaping through the vents, and it kind of not necessarily warping, but just like I think they call it a patina on the stainless steel. So I did find one cool video from Florida, which I should be able to show here, actually. Yeah, so this was actually posted in the Ring Watcher server from Drew B. So this is a nice view from Florida. Which is amazing. I would love to see that from Florida. Just how fast it's moving is pretty awesome. Nice. One more time there. And we are getting close to that engine relight, so I guess we'll go ahead and go back to that. They still have not shown that engine bay view, so that's interesting. Very interesting.
That Raptor relight demo is about 3 minutes from now.
We do have some super chats if you guys want to call some of those out as well.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and run through those. So we had a $5 Australian super chat from Oz Zombie. Then we had a $12 US dollar super chat from Norman. So thank you guys for your extended support there.
Yeah, definitely appreciate your guys' support. Like I said, hopefully one of these days we'll be able to get Lab a new vehicle so we can remount that other camera that he had. It's kind of sad to see that vehicle go away, but it definitely served its purpose for a very long time. So like I said, thank you to everybody who's donated so far. Super appreciate all of your support. Ooh, starting to get...
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, you did miss
go.
some
Getting
exciting
close to
stuff
engine relight.
because Starship successfully deployed its second ever payload, 8 Starlink simulator satellites. And now we're expecting the relight of a single sea-level Raptor engine in space coming up here just after T plus 37 minutes. So about a minute left to go.
Yep.
Why do I get the feeling they're not going to show us the engine view?
To
there we go.
Around 49 seconds or so.
Looks like everything
so we should be
seems
just
good
about
down
a
there.
minute and a half. Where, again, as Amanda just said, we're going to relight one of those center engines.
We'll be able to see better once they relight this engine.
This will be the third time that we've tried this. We did it successfully back on Flight 10, and then
we finally got the
very
light that Lucid
first time
suggested.
back on Flight 6. This is not a deorbit burn. This is demonstrating essentially all of the systems you would need to do a deorbit burn. So that's obviously your Raptor engine, and then also your header tanks, your smaller tanks in the nose cone, where we have liquid oxygen, liquid methane in a smaller, more easily pressurized container, which we can use for on-orbit burns. And we're also going to tap into those
struggling a
with your
bit today.
burn. So this will be a critical capability once we go to full orbital missions. You'll have to do
I see somebody
a
asking
deorbit burn to
about the
break out of
flashing
orbit,
lights. That
send
is
it
just
back
from the
down to
venting.
Earth. But in this instance, we're already on our way back down towards Earth. So this is just going to demonstrate the capability of turning one of these engines on. We should be coming up in just about 20 seconds or so, looking for one of those Raptor engines to turn back on. They've been off since we completed that successful ascent burn.
You can see the engines
almost
starting to
30
gimbal
minutes
outwards.
ago. Here we go.
Oh, Raptor ignition. And shutdown.
Nice.
All right, there was that Raptor.
Yeah, payload bay looks great.
Looks like
Or sorry, not payload, the engine bay.
As Dan mentioned, that's a third attempt, and we just did it 3 times in a row. So congrats to the team, the ship
Nominal
team,
second
Raptor
orbital
team.
insertion.
And then there we heard nominal second orbital insertion.
Nice.
All right, so congrats everyone on the milestone.
So
That
everything
was
is
awesome
going
to see. We're 3 for 3.
better than
We're gonna
last
take another
flight
break,
in every
and we'll
way
be back for
imaginable right
re-entry
now.
at
So
about
that's really good.
plus 45 minutes.
Excited to see what the reentry looks like now that they're. Well, I mean, we haven't seen the aft flaps yet, right? But they, I'm assuming, are probably in better condition than they were last time. So that'll be nice to see. Wow, those colors are amazing.
We saw part of the aft flap very shortly earlier, and there was still this discoloration on the backside of the aft flap, but no visible damage.
Ooh, what is that? Uh-oh. Maybe that's just
What?
re-entry starting. Okay, yeah, just some
Yeah,
plasma.
I believe so.
Wow.
That red spot down there looks like it's on Earth. I don't think that's. I'm not sure what it is, but huh.
Could be a Starlink. No, because they did the second burn, so it should be pretty far away.
Yeah.
But we did see a little bit of insulation or debris kind of flying around in the engine bay, right?
Yeah. Just
That
looked like
was
some
right
ice.
after shutdown. Yeah.
Do you think it was some ice?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
Okay, because it looked like it was kind of a big chunk, so I don't know.
We usually do see quite a bit of ice getting kicked up from those tests, so that's what I would think.
I see somebody in the chat asked, why is restart a big deal? I mean, it is, I guess you could consider it to be kind of basic, but I mean, you do have some interesting dynamics going on when it's in orbit. So first of all, you have the propellant sloshing around in the main tank. I do think they use possibly the header tanks for that relight, at least to initiate it. I'm not sure if they use it for the entire relight.
I
But
believe
it's
they
really
do.
important for the deorbit burn. So it's important to make sure that is working correctly, because once they do actual orbital flights, if they haven't yet proved that they can successfully relight every time in orbit, then that would be a bad thing for future missions where they actually need to perform a full deorbit burn. Wow.
Should be crossing into daylight relatively soon.
So is this venting we're seeing on screen that is backlighted by the sun?
A little bit. It's difficult to tell if it's all venting or at the beginning of the plasma, but I think it's mostly venting.
Okay.
And what is reentry time? That's supposed to be at
says 47:43 is when entry begins.
Okay, so we're about 5 minutes from that. Yeah, I'm really excited. So we did see, those of you, any of you are following the space engineer, he's been posting really cool updates just showing where the deployment of the buoys. So it looks like they actually have 4 of them, and they're like in a square. So they actually, I believe, probably have 4 different angles. It seems like they don't actually show us all of that. And yeah, I do see some people in chat. We do try and keep the SpaceX audio, like try and be a little bit quieter when the SpaceX audio is on there. So sorry if we do end up talking over them. But yeah, we do the best we can. Wow. That is incredible right there.
We're getting some flap action.
Yeah, those flaps are taking control of the vehicle. Now, past the Kármán line.
Yeah, those flaps are in much better condition than they were last time.
I was about to say at least one of the 2 is in good condition.
Yeah, I think by this point, in the last flight, we were already seeing some bits come off the aft flaps.
And, you know, we can see already here, it looks like we kept most of them, but I think I see a couple there that are no longer there. So the thermal team is definitely going to be digging into that and taking that data to help us iterate on V3. So yeah, Starlink provides us with one more path to collect data and help us rapidly iterate Starship's design.
And if the ship does manage to make it all the way to re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on the spacecraft flying through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, or more than 5 times the speed of sound. Re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, which is roughly 8 kilometers per second or 5 miles per second. At those insanely high speeds, the spacecraft moving through the atmosphere creates a plasma field around the vehicle.
Yeah, and that blanket of plasma distorts communication frequencies, so it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication. All right, so big picture here, Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are no runways or other humans to help out. So that means we need to do a propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes, which is what our Dragon spacecraft uses, or a runway like the Space Shuttle. Propulsive landing enables more rapid reusability.
Now, as the ship makes its way back to Earth, we should start hearing some callouts. When we hear entry max heating and entry max Q, that means the ship has made it through the maximum heating and aerodynamic loads it will experience as it returns. So if it makes it through all of those, that's a pretty good sign that we're doing well.
Yeah, and we heard flaps have control of the vehicle now. Okay, there's a great shot there. You're starting to see the plasma build up. So we will hear a call out when the ship is transonic and then subsonic. Transonic refers to the period of flight where the velocities of airflows surrounding and flowing past the vehicle are concurrently below, at, and above the speed of sound, somewhere in the range of Mach 0.8 to 1.2. All right, a lot of numbers coming up here, but for reference, commercial jets have a range of cruising speeds, but most fly around Mach 0.74 to Mach 0.85, which is 480 to 575 miles per hour, or 770 to 930 kilometers per hour. Right now, we're going a little over 26,000 kilometers per hour. So compare that to the airplane at 930. It's like pretty crazy how fast we're going here. All right, and after we hear the call out that Starship is transonic, we should hear the call out that Starship is subsonic. Subsonic, of course, refers to the speed that is much less than the speed of sound. So at that point, the ship's velocity will be starting to slow down, and we'll be looking a little bit more like some of our suborbital flights from, at this point, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, so re-entry so far is looking pretty good. You can see that plasma field. Also, again, with those missing tile experiments, especially, we're putting the ship through a lot today, but things are looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, we're looking good. I do want to remind people that we are pushing ship to the limits. We've done a lot of these missing tile tests. We did it back on Flight 10. Every time we do it, we throw something new and the ship makes it through. This time, we're really pushing it. We've removed these tiles in some of the spots that see the highest level of heating. And we remove tiles that have zero backup protection underneath. So there's essentially just bare steel. It's one of the heat of re-entry.
I wonder if that's coming from
And
the
so
aft section.
do
or is
not
that
be surprised
curling over?
if this is not a very smooth flight on the way down. But again, this is intentional. We are trying to find what are the limits for a ship. How resilient are we to these different issues that could pop up? If we lose a tile anywhere in the vehicle, we want to know what that ultimate impact is going to be. So we've got a couple missing.
Wow.
We had a bunch pulled over the primary fuel, the LOX tanks, everything. This one, we've got a tile missing right on top. So that's going to see some of the highest temperatures during this re-entry, and there's just bare steel right underneath it. So we're going to see if Starship's robust enough to pull through that. Also have some tiles missing around the aft flaps, specifically on the leading edge. So again, we're getting a really good look right at the leading edge. That's getting really intense heating. So again, gonna see if it can make it through. See if all the flaps hold on, see if Starship holds together. But definitely could be a bumpy ride, but this is why we're flying. This is why we're flying in this part of the world. This is why we're putting Starship through these flight tests to really understand what its limits are. So we can then move on to the next thing, which is going to be bringing ships back to the launch site for a catch. But for now, still on this suborbital, the light show continuing. Keep following it in. I think we got about 15 minutes until splashdown.
Yeah, Dan, it looks, you can see our speed our speed indicator in the bottom left there. It looks like we're starting to scrub off velocity a little bit quicker.
Ship is entering the peak heating phase of flight.
So now if there is going to be any burn through, we'll see it now.
I think you could kind of guess where those missing ties were earlier.
Looks like we can see some clouds down there, as we pass through 70 kilometers altitude.
Yeah, the sun's starting to come up again.
Whoa.
There we go.
There we go.
It's like something broke there. Might have lost the tile.
I'm concerned about the
Skirt is
F-flap.
intact so far this time. If you watched Flight 10, you saw we entered with a little bit missing. That was ultimately traced to a little bit of buildup. We dumped prop on the way. We had a little bit of solid propellant buildup, and then either static discharge or the plasma ignited it, took out a tiny bit of that skirt, some of the aft flaps, but Starship, again, was able to fight through it, make it all the way to that landing burn. We addressed that, changed some of our prop dump con-ups, though, so should not be seeing that this time around.
Nice. That's pretty much what I predicted on that as far as changing that sequence for dumping propellant. It's nice to get some confirmation on that.
And as a reminder, in addition to these missing tile tests, we're doing kind of a unique flight on the way in. It's going to do what we call a banking maneuver. So while we're still going supersonic and even hypersonic, we're doing kind of a banking turn, and then we'll do a pretty aggressive turn right as we get into the subsonic and start doing our belly flop. And that's designed to essentially be the approach that we would do on a return to launch site and the tower catch. So don't be surprised if we see the ship start to turn and make a few maneuvers as it makes its way down to the Indian. And fun fact, even though we're doing all this turning, we're essentially targeting the exact same spot in the Indian Ocean we went to last time.
So you're telling me there's a spot in the Indian Ocean where there are multiple starships just on the ocean floor?
Bits of Starship.
Right, not complete ships.
All right, just about 12 minutes to go. Still looking good. That gives a pretty good view of those aft flaps where, again, on the leading edge, I think it might be on the one on the other side, we had some tiles removed with no backups behind it. So again, we're really trying to stress some of the most sensitive areas around Starship, where basically if you lose a tile, it's the worst possible spot. And if we're able to make it through this, then that tells us quite a bit about just how resilient this vehicle is.
Yeah, and that shot we just had earlier was looking at what we call the business end of Starship with all the Raptor engines. And those are the engines that we're going to be expecting to light for that flip and landing burn, hopefully in about
this is really cool, just seeing the way the plasma's coming off in different locations. I'm going to see like a trail of smoke behind the vehicle, which is also really cool.
Yeah, looking at E3,
also just seeing all the sparks flying off of it. I wonder if those are all from those areas that are untiled.
So we'll see if it can go 3 for 3.
It'd be interesting. I was really hoping that we'd finally get a fully tiled ship so we could see if that's a standard normal thing or not. But maybe on the first V3 ship we'll start to get some of that. I haven't heard if they've made it through peak heating yet, but we should start to see that dynamic turn maneuver here soon.
All right, we can see
you can see the catch point as well there.
To bleed off under 20,000 kilometers an hour. Ship's still holding together.
Do we know if we've passed the point where we saw that little
if you look
pop
in the bottom
inside
right,
the
looks like
engine
we've
bay
made it
last time?
all the way to
Yeah,
the
we should have
ocean.
passed
We're
that.
Coming up kind of near Australia, the west side of Australia there, so pretty crazy. We're
Yeah, I
only
believe we
56
are
minutes in, and we've made
we
it
are a
all
little
the way,
ways past that point.
halfway around the world.
Just think how it's going to be when we're waiting for the ship to come and be caught. I think it's going to be about a 6-hour orbit, so we're going to be sitting here for a while on that one. We might have.
I have a feeling it'll be longer than that because it'll have to make multiple passes in order to line back up.
A future capability.
Oh, look at the
we hope
catch
to have
point.
on Starship
Look
where
at the
we will
catch
do
pin getting hot right
point-to-point
there.
Transport on Earth. So essentially travel anywhere in the world in about an hour or so, which is going to be pretty crazy. Imagine going from New York to Sydney in 1 hour instead of the 20 hours it takes currently.
Looks like we're in one of these banks right now. Kind of reminds you of the space shuttle.
Yeah, I don't think the space shuttle came over and just did one orbit and come and land.
And a reminder, so this camera is...
Nah, not quite.
Some of the heat rate picking up a little bit.
Whoa.
A little burning.
And this camera is embedded right in the end of one of those forward flaps, so you see it moving around. That's the flap.
It's always so
adjusting to
stressful.
maintain control.
Whoa.
Looks like we're getting into our bank maneuver.
That turn.
Oh my god.
It's almost horizontal.
Now power sliding through the atmosphere.
External temperatures are coming down.
Somebody play Tokyo Drift.
Getting some stuff breaking off of the
Vehicle is now
flap
at
right
maximum
there.
dynamic pressure.
Alright, that was basically our reverse max Q, so most aerodynamic stress that it's going to see during re-entry, we just passed through it, so we're past that, we're past peak heating.
That engine bay view is incredible.
Ship's still holding together. So we're currently in this bank maneuver. We're going to see it kind of roll over and do a pretty significant shift as we get down closer to the subsonic speeds.
Yeah, and that bank maneuver that Dan's mentioning is all in part of us to learn about the guidance, navigation, and control for return to launch site missions. So in the near future, we're hoping to return the ship back to the same pad we just took off on 59 minutes ago, and we've got to do some of these pretty dynamic bankings to make that trajectory work out.
All right, the light show kind of calming down as we're starting to move into the lower parts of the atmosphere. We should hit transonic, so hitting that transition between moving faster than the speed of sound and below the speed of sound in just about 3.5 minutes.
It's amazing how stable it is right now.
Our landing burn should happen
All
right
things
around
considered, this has been a pretty
an hour
clean
and 6
entry.
minutes after launch, so we should be just about 6 minutes away from that. You can see lots of daylight. Everybody
very
cross your
minimal
fingers
burn
to see
off.
if our range
Burn
team
off.
was able to get out there and provide any surprise views as Starship makes its way down.
I'm waiting for this buoy cam. Hey, there we go.
Oh, this seems like a drone.
Yeah, that's a drone view.
Yeah, drone, buoy.
Ready and waiting. Let's
They're
go.
equally awesome.
Dan, you just spoke that view into existence there. And again, all brought to us by
RTS banking
Starlink.
maneuver has started.
All right, there we go. So we're now starting into our really heavy bank maneuver. Again, this does almost like a half circle loop to our actual trajectory. We're heading to the same exact splashdown point, but we're kind of doing a more roundabout way to get there, where it's this kind of big, long half moon loop and then a really aggressive kind of twist right at the very end. And that would line us up with the launch tower. Starship, on a return to launch site, would fly over the tower, do a quick landing burn flip, and then come down for catching the arms.
How about that S38 decal there, staying strong on that view we just had?
Good to see the numbers back on.
Yeah.
All right, should be hitting transonic in about 2.5 minutes. Landing flip coming up in about 4. Pretty clouds there in the Indian Ocean today. Again, yeah, we changed our launch times. We launch in the evening now, so we get these daytime views down in the Indian Ocean. One of the things we're really looking for, the reason we have the drone, other than, yeah, that looks really cool, is we're able to kind of see the ship. We can only see so much from these cameras. You can't see like the vast majority of the heat shield. So we throw these buoys out there. We've got there's...
You spoke it again, Dan. There it is.
They're playing with me in the control room. All right. But we have these buoys out there. We have these drones that we're trying to see externally how the heat shield held up. Everybody saw from Flight 10 it had a little bit of a paint job, a little bit of a reddish hue. That was from those metallic tiles that we had tested, kind of oxidizing really rapidly in that plasma and then spreading those little oxide particles all over the heat shield. No metal tiles on this flight, so not expecting to see that.
Dynamic pressure is coming down.
Wow.
Hope nobody gets seasick.
Horizontal.
All right, coming up on transonic shortly.
What is this?
It's about 2.5 minutes of landing burn.
Yeah, and once we get to around the 15-kilometer altitude mark, that's where we have a lot of flight history.
Starship is transonic, starting the belly flop phase of flight.
Yep, that belly flop phase that we perfected in the suborbital campaigns, we're entering that now.
Yeah, it looks like it's basically flying sideways.
Right, starting to get those Raptors ready. Should be 2 minutes away from landing burn. Again, we're going to do a flip. After we ignite those engines, we'll go from 3 down to 2 for the final phase of the landing burn and look for another soft splashdown, hopefully by our buoy and drone, which are hanging out, ready and waiting for a ship.
I'm sorry, but who else does this? Who else is crazy enough to drift a rocket?
Seeing all 3 center engines have entered the chill phase.
Still getting some tiles falling off here and there.
All right, less than a minute to go.
The ship is making its turn for final approach.
And here's this kind of aggressive final turn that would essentially position it so it's right behind the launch and catch tower.
Wow.
Flaps holding strong. Landing burn in just under 20 seconds.
This bad boy was solid.
Ship landing startup.
There's our landing burn. Three down to 2.
Starship has landed.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
It didn't explode.
No explode. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
As we said, we're not planning on recovering the ship today. Hey, welcome back to Earth, Starship. We are down in the Indian Ocean. Let him hear at Starbase. What a day.
What a flight.
And the crowd goes wild.
Oh.
So long, V2.
All right. Welcome back to Earth, ship. What a day. A whole lot more to go through. As you just saw, everybody here at Starbase pretty hyped. Hey, Tyler, out of Hawthorne, how's everybody holding up?
Thank you, Dan. We had a fantastic time watching. It was another exciting Starship flight test in the books, and we hope that you enjoyed those Starlink views too. So congratulations to the team at Starbase and everyone here and around the company. So many employees contribute to the Starship program as we continue to iterate and make progress towards a multi-planetary future. So that wraps it up for us here in Hawthorne. Thank you for tuning in, and back to you guys.
Yeah, what an incredible launch today.
Awesome.
We had successful liftoff.
I'm sure we'll probably get some even better views when SpaceX ends up posting some. But overall, I think it looked like a lot better than last time. It didn't get as much burn through on the flaps. Like there was still some burn through on some of the seals that you could tell, but overall, it looked so much better. I don't think we could really see the tiles so well from that view that they showed us, but phenomenal flight for sure.
Yeah, buoy didn't catch as much of the landing burn as it did on the last flight, but
thank you to all our future customers for your support.
We'd also like to thank
See
the
the
fine
guy
people of
chest
Cameron
bumping
County,
in the
including the
background.
residents of its newest city, Starbase, as well as the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, the Government of Mexico, and the Australian Space Agency.
Yeah, be sure to follow SpaceX on X for updates and about more of the exciting views we didn't get to feature on today's broadcast.
And if you're interested in more launch coverage just like this, head over to spacex.com/launches for the most up-to-date information.
All right, I will take us out. Hey, congrats, Jake and Amanda. You guys did amazing. Great job. All right, today we launched the world's biggest rocket, knocked out all of our objectives. Shout outs to every single person who made this look easy. Thank you to everybody tuning in. We're going to see you back here for the very first flight of our next generation Starship. So we'll see you then. Good night.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible. I'm super excited for what comes next. There's just so much that we're going to see in between now and the next flight. I think, for one, a lot of testing on of some of the test articles. So 18.1 should probably be done with testing, I imagine now. 18.3 has some important tests coming up. We'll see the 39.1, which is the first Starship test article. I'm imagining there will probably be another one that they're still in the process of developing currently. So we'll then see the first booster fully stacked, hopefully soon. We haven't seen the methane tank come out for that yet, but then they'll do that cryo test and eventually move that to the pad so they can begin commissioning all of the systems for pad 2. While all of that's going on, we'll also see them finish constructing that integration tower. They have not yet installed the ship QD arm, which is a big important thing that's still missing. Then we'll also get demolition work for pad A going. So they'll probably end up modifying the chopsticks in place. If I had to guess, they've already started to remove some components from the chopsticks that weren't needed for lifting the vehicles. So we'll imagine they'll install like a massive scaffolding setup on the actual chopsticks, and then remove pieces bit by bit until they've shortened them down to the length that they're going to be as they are on pad 2. And then of course the actual demolition of the orbital launch mount. I imagine they'll probably want to get that started as soon as possible. So within the next few weeks here, I imagine we'll probably start to see them tear that apart. And then there's going to be a massive expansion work for the tank farm, which is kind of insane considering they already have done a massive amount of work to get it ready for pad B. But it's essentially going to double in size. So they'll have methane liquefaction facility. They're working on the air separation plant right now, so they'll be able to produce their own liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen. They'll basically need a pipeline coming from the port of Brownsville all the way to Starbase. What else am I missing? Yeah, there's just so much that we're gonna see. And honestly, I guess, what are your predictions? Sorry, I just saw in the chat that said no sound. but I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm interested to see y'all's predictions in the chat on when we will see the next, the first launch, I guess, from Pad 2. I'm personally thinking it's probably going to be February.
It's my guess too. February or March.
Yeah. We'll see what you guys think in the chat. Do you see a question directed towards me? No new CSI Starbase video? I'm literally always working on a video. I think sometimes people, because it takes so long to make them, people think I'm just chilling, but I'm never chilling. I'm constantly working on episodes. So literally just finished recording one a few days ago. So that'll be out probably within the next 10 days or so. Let's see, I haven't seen any estimations come through in the chat yet, but like I said, I personally think February-ish. The stacking of ship 38, I think, from when the nose cone rolled out to launch date was 168 days. So given that we just saw the nose cone of ship 39 roll out, if obviously there were some delays in there due to ship 36 and having to retrofit the launch mount and all that stuff, that contributed to that 166 days. But with this being the first version 3 booster and ship and a new launch pad, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still around that 166 days. So that would be, I think, I can't remember what it was like March 26th or something like that, if it's meets that, still, if it matches that time for ship 38. I would say it'd probably match or exceed that time. I don't expect it to beat that time, honestly. So I do think that it's going to be quite a while until we reach that point. So I'm seeing a lot of March, Aprils in the chat.
I guess it's going to depend as well on how the test campaign is going to go for S39 and the booster, because if we get another S36 explosion at Massey, it could delay a little bit.
Yeah, do keep in mind, like, this will be the first time they test all this new OLM equipment with vehicles. First time they test Raptor 3 integrated onto a vehicle. I'm sure there will be some hiccups in that process for sure.
This is what makes me a little bit nervous to see the first Raptor 3 integrated to a vehicle. And as you say, I think hiccups is also part of the development process of SpaceX. So as much as we do not like to see those S36 explosions happening, and this is also part of the process for them to identify problems to correct and mistakes to avoid. And I wouldn't be surprised as well if we get a couple of surprises when V3 will be starting opening the show. This is why the project is so interesting to follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the longer they take, the better, to tell you the truth. Ironing out everything, like with the version 2 ships, they technically switched over to version 2 boosters around the same time, but there wasn't anywhere near as much change on the version 2 booster as there was with the ship. So now with basically 2 brand new vehicles at the same time, it's kind of like Flight 1 all over again. So I imagine that testing procedure will be, let's not forget the Raptor 3s as well too. So first time testing Raptor 3s on both boosters and ships. I wouldn't be surprised if they go from like doing a single engine test to 3 engines, 7, 11, 14, 33, like they did with
B7.
Booster 7. But at the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised if they just go straight for 33. But personally, I think it would be nice to see them step up slowly, just to eliminate the risk. I mean, Raptor 3 is going to be a big change, just massive thrust increase for those new engines. So yeah, I personally think that testing procedure is going to be rather slow, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. before we sign off, I want to make sure we touch on all of the last remaining donations and any questions in the chat. So did we have anything that we haven't addressed yet?
Yeah, we did have 2 more donations. We had a $5 donation from Norman, who also donated earlier today. So thank you very much for that, Norman. And then we also had a 20 Canadian dollar donation from Frank. So thank you guys both for your extended support there.
Indeed, indeed. Thank y'all very much. I know Norman actually donated a few times today, so special shout out to Norman. I'd also like to give a special shout out to the Isla Grande Beach Resort and Sapphire Condominiums for helping us out and making these camera views possible and these streams possible. 2 of the finest properties on South Padre Island, and of course Rocket Ranch. Couldn't do it without either of them.
Yeah, shout out to Rocket Ranch. If you guys go down there for Flight 12, which I know for sure I will be, that is definitely one of the closest places you can view the launch from. So make sure to check them out if you go down there. It's really awesome. Just not only camping there the night before, but being there with all the fans, checking the view out. It's really just one of the best places to view from. So shout out to Rocket Ranch, like Lab said.
Yeah, make sure you tell them that LabPadre sent you. They might just give you a discount. Don't quote me on that, though. Just saying they might.
And I do see a question in the chat. Is Massey's the holdup right now for Flight 12? There's literally so many things that can be the limiting factor. Obviously, they are still rebuilding the static fire test stand. I wouldn't say that's causing any delays currently because they literally just started stacking ship 39. So as long as they finish, I mean, they need to finish ship 39. They need to perform the cryo test, bring it back, install engines, and then after that, if the static fire stand is still being worked on, then at that point it becomes the thing that's holding up Flight 12. But I highly doubt that will be the limiting factor. The ship itself is probably one of the biggest factors, and then all of the structural qualification testing would be the second holdup, I would say, because it seems to me like they're behind on that. And then Pad 2, everything related to that. So they seem to be nearing completion on Pad 2 minus the ship QD arm. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that can cause delays. It's really difficult to predict what would be the limiting factor, honestly. And with that, I guess if we don't have any other questions from the chat, I will go ahead and sign us off. I want to thank everybody who donated during the stream today. Everybody who did us a favor and hit that like button. Make sure you do that before you leave if you haven't already. And again, thanks for watching it with us. I know there's so many other streams you guys can watch, so we appreciate you guys being here with us. Definitely glad we pulled this off on the first time instead of having 2 scrub attempts like we did last time. So that's always nice when they get it done on the first time. They're actually really, really good at doing that. So yeah, I hope we'll see you all on the next for Flight 12. And before I go, I want to say a big thank you to Caden and Pierre for being on the live stream with us, and obviously to Lab for hosting with the cameras and the epic views. Be able to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, also want to say, give a big shout out to all of our moderators, especially Rusty Buckets, for keeping the place a groovy gig for everybody to hang out. And of course, Zach and Caden, Pierre, for being on the stream with us today. Lucid in the background, making sure everything was working for us. And all of our camera operators and all of our other moderators on Discord, YouTube. Y'all do an excellent job helping us out. And right here next to me, the whiz kid himself, the brawn of the operations, my right-hand man, my left-hand man. He does it all over here for me. So a special shout out to all you guys. Love you all, and thanks for tuning in. It's been a great night.
All right. With that, we will see you all for Flight 12. And honestly, we'll probably see you guys for some of the testing before then. Somebody just asked me if I'm on a phone or PC. I'm on a phone, iPad, PC, everything at the same time. Got all these screens in front of me. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for being here with us. And, you know, I'm sure we'll have lots of exciting stuff in between now and Flight 12. So we'll see you guys for that. And for now, signing off.
LabPadre shutting her down.